Let's do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. Sorry, guys.
You okay over there?
I forgot to eat lunch, and so I was trying to eat before the show started and ate a little bit too quickly. That's okay, though.
One step at a time, man.
That's right. That's right. We got 3 hours we got to get through. So, like you said, one step at a time. And we got some pretty great steps today. We got Zack Gray coming on at 1 o'clock. He's going to have some bets for the weekend. He does a really nice job betting baseball. So we'll see if he's got that up and running yet. Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts is going to join me at 2 o'clock. We'll talk Kenny Moore. We'll talk draft, all that good stuff. Tim Walters is going to join me at 12:20. So you're in about 20 minutes. Where we're going to talk about the Masters and all those great things, including my guy Bryson DeChambeau not playing very well. But that's all right. It's okay. But I obviously have to start with the big news story for the Colts that broke this morning. Kenny Moore has requested a trade. And everyone is going to turn this into some big, huge thing that it really isn't. You know, people are like, everybody wants out of Indianapolis. Chris Ballard can't keep anybody. Chris Ballard likes his guys, but they don't like him. All this nonsense. How about we just, use common sense to come to a very obvious conclusion that this makes sense. Kenny Moore wanting to leave and the Indianapolis Colts being perfectly fine with that. Kenny Moore's 30 years old. Okay? That's not young in the NFL. All right? That's young out here in the real world. But, 8 years of, getting rocked when you're 5'10", maybe, where it weighs on your body. He is at a point in his career where he's older, and he's currently at an organization that has a lot of issues. And he's tired of losing. We see players do this all the time in every sport. They get closer to the end of their career. They leave whatever team they're playing for to go somewhere else that actually has a chance at winning a championship. That's what Kenny Moore is looking to do. This is no different than Jason Taylor leaving the Dolphins a decade ago to go play for the Jets when they were good. We see examples like this all the time. And this is no different. And it's really good timing for the Colts. Because the Colts probably didn't want to bring him back. Kenny Moore is going into the final year of his contract. The Colts probably didn't want to resign him. And he probably didn't want to resign with the Colts for all those reasons that I just listed. They're not winning. He wants to go and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. He wants to have a chance just to play in the playoffs. He's not doing that here. And he knows that. And again, he's 30. That's old for a slot corner in the NFL. Okay? And I don't think that the Colts would have wanted to resign him because of his age. Right? This is as mutual as it gets. Also, the Colts have more than enough starting talent at corner right now. They don't need Kenny Moore. They have Charvarius Ward. And they made the trade for Sauce Gardner. And Justin Wally had an excellent camp last year before tearing his ACL. Is it a little risky to move Kenny Moore and completely buy in on what Justin Wally is going to look like? By the way, they drafted Justin Wally with the idea of replacing Kenny Moore. So it makes sense that this is happening now. They don't need Kenny Moore to feel good about their top-end talent. Now, does depth become a concern? Absolutely. But, I was tweeting back and forth with friend of the show Kevin Potts earlier, and he laid it out. He's like, "Look, this is a draft where you can find good corners. There's still some guys on the free agent market that you could go get if you're just looking for depth." Again, this is the final year of Kenny Moore's contract. Colts don't want to extend him because of his age. He wants to go somewhere where he can win, which would mean he's going to leave next offseason anyway. And if you're going to lose something, you might as well get something in return. So moving Kenny Moore for a fourth-round pick is way better than him playing here all year, being unhappy, and then him walking for nothing. Okay? This is something that makes sense. It's not a complicated thing, but because no one likes Chris Ballard, me included, everyone's going to turn it into something that it isn't. Okay? He's going to get you a fourth or fifth round pick. Chris Ballard gets a chub when he thinks about the idea of earning another fourth or fifth round pick. We know how much he loves those, right? And so he'll probably get dealt during the draft, maybe before the draft, so that Chris Ballard can earn one or two more picks. Okay? We've hit the time of the year where college basketball is over. The NFL draft is like, it's coming, but it's not close enough yet where it's like, oh, I'm excited for the draft. And so now everything that happens gets blown out of proportion. This is not a big deal. This is a normal thing that happens all the time in the world of sports. Older player wants an opportunity to go compete for a title. And so the team that he's on trades him. Not a big deal at all. What is a big deal is stupidity. I don't like stupidity. It bothers me. I don't think anyone likes stupidity. And I heard some the other day. Tom Fornelli, college football guy, went on Danny Kanell's podcast. And to be fair to Tom, I want to set this up properly. They asked him for like a bold take. Hey, man, like give us like something like a little edgier. And Tom Fornelli's take was about Indiana. Here it is. Tom Fornelli. Indiana's going to go 9-3 and miss out on the college football playoff because they're not going to have a signature win. And I heard that, like I'm, an honest guy. So, hey, man, like when I hear something like that, I'm immediately going to go to the most important thing when predicting somebody's record, the schedule. Okay? And Indiana's schedule isn't that tough. It's just the idea of Indiana going 9-3 is just insane. They're not losing 3 games. If you go 10-2 and you play in the Big Ten, you're going to make the college football playoff, even if you lose all of your signature games. So looking ahead to Saturday, September 5th, we're like 5 months away from the start of college football. Can't wait for that. IU has their spring game coming up here in about 2 weeks, which is, that's exciting as well, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really a big spring football guy. Anyway, so they're going to walk through their non-conference schedule. They're going to beat North Texas. They're going to beat Howard. They're going to beat Western Kentucky. And then the rigors of the Big Ten begin. They play Northwestern. I don't know. It's basically like playing Howard again. And then they play Rutgers. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be very good. When was the last time Rutgers was really good? It's been a minute. And then they're going to play Nebraska and Matt Rule and those guys. And, their quarterback left in the offseason. And, Matt Rule, I think, is just destined to go 8-4 every year at Nebraska. And then October 17th, maybe the game of the year, they're going to host Ohio State. Big game. That's the first game that Indiana's going to go into. And if you told me, hey, Indiana's going to lose to Ohio State, I say, yeah, that makes sense. Seems like a real possibility. And then they're going to play at Michigan. They're going to go to the Big House. And, Kyle Whittingham's a good head coach. Like, if you've seen his Utah teams in the past, I'm not convinced that year one of Michigan, he's going to go, 11-1 or 12-0. I think Michigan's, probably looking at like 9-3 again this year. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that game. But, it's on the road. It's at Michigan. Maybe they lose that one. And then they play Minnesota. Cakewalk. And then they play USC at home. And Lincoln Riley, outside of the state of California, shrivels up and dies, apparently. I don't know what it is. And then they're at Washington. No, not buying it. And then, toughest game on the schedule, they have Purdue. I think at most, Indiana loses 2 games. Maybe. This is looking like another 11-1 or 12-0 season. And, I mean, at this point, like, why would you bet against Curt Cignetti at all? Go find a different coach to be like, yeah, I think that they're going to underachieve. If there's one thing that Coach Cignetti has made clear, his teams are not going to lose games that they shouldn't. Like, that's not going to happen. And in order for them to go 9-3, they would have to lose one game that they shouldn't. Right? And look, let's just be honest. That schedule is not hard. They have an easy schedule once again. Okay? And there's a lot of teams in college football who would flirt with a college football playoff berth with that schedule. Ohio State, they're going to give them a tough game. And then you've got Michigan and maybe Washington. Who might be good enough to compete with Indiana. Okay, look, Indiana is going to have kind of their pick of the litter every year going forward after what they've done the last 2 years. Coach Cignetti just showed up and just began winning. And when you win a lot of football games, I mean, everyone wants to play for you, right? Which I'm sure in some ways can make it a little bit more difficult when everyone's coming to you. But ultimately, I mean, we've seen the way that Coach Cignetti evaluates talent. I think he's one of the best talent evaluators in all of college football. And when you have that on your sideline, then I know that you're going to be good every single year. So, yeah, Tom, good. He's a good follow on Twitter. But, I mean, come on now. Indiana's not missing the college football playoff with that schedule. Indiana's the favorite to win the Big Ten. They're like minus 330 the last time that I checked. Like, they're such a favorite, it's not even worth betting on them. Also, Indiana's the favorite to win the Big Ten. What in the world? Oh, man, who would have? That's just a really weird thing to say in the context of college football. So I don't really have any questions about it. 317-228-1430 if you want to call in, talk about the upcoming IU football season, Colts draft. Kenny Moore, that is the big news of the morning, making a trade request and the Colts agreeing to it. I feel like that's the part in all this that people are trying to bury. It's like, hey, the Colts are totally fine with moving off of Kenny Moore. And again, they should be. 30 years old. I don't know, Chris. I just think it's such a simple thing. Older player wants to go somewhere where he can win. Team doesn't want to continue paying for older player.
Yeah, I get it. I think I'm more sad about him just who he is because I always liked Kenny Moore. And it's hard to keep people that you like on the team anymore. I don't remember where I was going with that, but
no, you're good.
I'm kind of sad to see him go. Remember that game?
Yeah.
He had like 2 pick sixes or something.
Yeah,
I was super pumped. I was like, dude, Kenny Moore, cornerstone of the defense, man. But I
he's
understand.
a good player. Look, people being like upset about it and sad. That's totally fine. I understand that part of it. I just look, man. He's been here for 9 years. It's a long time, man. And like you said, he's always been good. You know, he had the Pro Bowl season back in 2021. He's been a good, solid player. But here's my thing. This is where the Colts continue to fall short. People love Kenny Moore because they think he's awesome. Kenny Moore's like a nice player. But if Kenny Moore's the best player on your defense, then Then you get 9 and 8 and 8 and 9 every single year.
This is fair, but I did like Kenny Moore more than like Michael Pittman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Tim is standing outside of the studio. So in 3 minutes, we're going to come back with a Masters update, and Tim Walters is going to join the show. He's going to be our new golf guy.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. Before we get to Tim, we're going to hit our quick Masters update, just so you know who's where on the board. Sitting at the top, Sam Burns and Rory McIlroy are both 5 under. They are yet to tee off today. Wyndham Clark, 4 under. Kurt Kitayama, I'm sure I said that correctly. Oh, let's go. 3 under. So is Jason Day and Patrick Reed. And then there's a clump of people tied for 7th at 2 under. Guys like Xander Schauffele, Justin Rose, Brooks Koepka, and so on. But of course, we have to go to the people that make us feel better. We have to go to the bottom of the board. Davis Riley is plus 18 so far. He teed off earlier this morning. He's through 14 holes. But don't worry, we got some other guys that I'm sure are going to join him down there here at some point. That being said, let's bring in Tim. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So before we talk golf, why don't we have any sponsorships yet? That's your job, right?
It is. Well, you've been here like a week.
I know. I'll just give you a hard time.
Man.
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm upstairs right now.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a little bit off the air. How many strokes do you think you need to be given to finish second to last in the Masters? The guy at the bottom right now is plus 18.
I mean, I'm okay golfing. Like, I consider it bogey golf. I do okay.
Okay.
But if I'm playing from those tees on that course, like, I'm probably shooting 130, 140. So, I mean, I would need like 50 strokes.
Jeez. It's amazing because I've never been. I want to go. I think that's a bucket list thing for a lot of people. Just kind of hearing, I just want to see it because TV clearly doesn't do it justice.
That's right. I mean, you walk up. I got to go in 2018 for a practice round, and you walk up hole number 8, hole number 18. I mean, you are straight uphill. So a lot of the, you hit the fairways. A lot of the lies, they're not even. Like, you're uneven, and it's like your stance, something is so. The creativity that those guys have to come up with just to, hit the green in regulation is insane.
It is. I know you're watching the tournament. This is your big thing.
I love it.
Who's been impressive so far? Who's playing better than you thought? All that good stuff.
Gosh.
Or do we want to start with everybody's favorite golfer, Bryson DeChambeau? I know everybody loves him, and he's struggling right now.
It's funny. Like, I liked Bryson, and then he did the whole live thing, and I'm not a live fan.
Yeah.
I know some people are, which is great. I just don't. It's not tournament golf to me. So I think those guys, when they come into the majors, they struggle a little bit because live is more. I don't know, I call it like party golf. Like, you got the music going.
Yeah.
Is it kind of courses aren't as hard. And I mean, I could totally be wrong here, but I don't think they practice like they would if they were on the regular tour, right? So I think they come into tournaments like this, and it's just like, they're not used to it. I mean, Augusta this week's playing hard and fast, and they're not used to that. Like, they're playing on not Augusta type courses, right?
Yeah.
So those guys really struggled yesterday, and I read something last night where it was the worst tournament round that they have had since the split.
Jeez, that's
so
crazy.
But I mean, to answer your question, like, Patrick Reed's playing really well. I mean, he's coming in hot. He'd won a couple of times on the Europe tour. I think Chris Goddard's playing pretty well for a rookie. He's 2 under right now.
Jeez, I wish.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'd like to shoot 200 at Psalms. If I could do that, that would be great.
And of course, you got Rory. I mean, he's doing Rory things. He's 5 under yesterday. So
yeah, I don't know how I feel about Rory, and it's weird. Like, I like Bryson. I appreciate the YouTube stuff. I just find him entertaining, and I may or may not have put money on him as well. It's a brutal start for me.
Yep.
Who'd you pick in your pools?
So the pool I'm in is a little different. You pick 8 different players,
Okay.
through different categories. So we won't go through all those, but my one, well, I don't know if it's really a sleeper or not, was Patrick Reed, because he's hadn't, obviously, I mean, he won in 2018. I don't know if you call him a sleeper, but
he's playing well right now too. He's 3 under.
Yeah. So he hadn't teed off yet today, but he's right there.
Yeah.
Him and Scotty and Rory and all those guys.
Joined by Tim Walters. He's going to be our new golf guy going forward.
Great.
Because he doesn't make me feel dumb whenever I ask questions like Ryan Burr does.
Well, he knows a lot more than I do. So
I asked him. It was a dumb question. I'll tell you about it off the air. It was a dumb question, to be fair. So you mentioned how You said live golf. You wouldn't call it tournament golf. Is that just
Right.
because of the music and all the extra things, or
Well, I mean, when it started out, they played 54 holes, right? So right there, that's
different?
it's different. They play Friday through Sunday. It's a shotgun start. So everyone's the teams are starting. It's a team event. I know there's individual winnings as well, but it's just I don't know. Like I'm the old crotchety guy. Like
That's okay.
I like the
That's what
PGA,
golf is.
Yeah, I like the PGA Tour. I like it the way it is, and yeah. But like I said, I know a lot of younger kids. They really enjoy live, which is great. I mean, it probably is bringing more people. I shouldn't say probably. It is bringing more people to the game, which is always a good thing.
It is. What are some of the indicators that you can kind of see on Thursday and Friday that show the guys who might be able to win it on Sunday?
Putting. I mean, you kind of take note on who's putting well. I mean, the greens there are obviously never played there, but you always hear like nothing they play all year round. And it's usually the group of guys that are anywhere between 1 under even to 4, 5 under. 5 under is probably about the tops. Like those are if they're there Thursday, Friday, that's the group that's going to have the best shot. But as I say, the Masters really doesn't start until the second night on Sunday. So
yeah, I mean, you go back to last year. Like I know, I feel like it's forgotten. Like Rory wins. That's because DeChambeau shot a 75 on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean, and Justin Rose charged on the second 9 and it went into a playoff.
That's right. It did go into playoff.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
I mean, it's crazy and these guys are the best of the best, right? Like they're the cream of the crop. But I mean, I remember Rory was on 13 at about probably 100 yards in. He had laid up to par 5. And he hit a shot like I would hit. I mean, he chipped it into the creek. And it was just like, what is happening? Like, you don't see him do that. And so it's just, the pressure of him trying to win his first Masters, the Grand Slam, everything that came with it. And then, his buddies come charging after him, and those two go into a playoff, and then Rory wins it on 18 in the playoff, which is great. Like, it was, I was super happy for him.
I was too. And do you watch Full Swing on Netflix?
Yeah, I haven't caught the latest one, but I've seen the first couple.
I watched the first season, and then I stopped because I was like, I just really like Rory, because that's when the live thing happened, and everybody kind of split.
Yep.
And Rory was the guy who, I don't want to say held firm, but kind of did his part of like getting people to stay.
Yeah. I mean, he was the leader for the PGA side of things for sure.
He's the leader for the Masters right now too. I don't know if I want him to go back to back or not.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a cool story because it doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, I'm always like the sentimental favorite to me, just because he's always there, is Justin Rose.
Yeah,
like I mean, he's always around, and so it'd be cool to see him get one.
It would be, and it's, I don't know, seeing people win for the first time is always,
yeah.
There's just something really special about it. But this year's weird because like there's no Tiger watch. It's the first time since '94 that there's no Phil and there's no Tiger.
Yeah.
And so obviously I know people are interested in the live guys because they don't like the live guys for the most part.
Yeah.
Who are the guys that you've kind of found yourself watching more just because Tiger's not there?
I may be the wrong person to ask because I watch golf all the time. So like my wife is she's like, God, Sunday you're watching golf. Like, but I don't know. I like Max Homa. I like watching him play. I really like Adam Scott.
Okay.
Like, and he's another guy that's been around forever. So, but I mean, I like watching them all, especially the ones that like I like Ashke Batia.
Okay.
Like I think him and Tony Finau, they're fun to watch.
So I don't know why do you watch golf? Because like last year, I had my phone out. I'm like tracking. I'm seeing Rory kind of gain ground and so on. And then when it became clear that like there was going to be a playoff, I was like, all right, like, I'm gonna sit down and watch now.
Yep. See me, I had been probably watching since noon. But no, I watch it because, like I said, I play, and I know how hard it is, and I know how good these guys are, and I appreciate all the shots they're hitting and the creativity, and I was like, God, I wish I could do that.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
like me watching LeBron James dunk. It's like,
Yeah.
man, like I'd be
Yeah. Like I just
maybe
I
when
don't know,
I'm 41, you know,
I've just
maybe
always-
it's so quick.
I started golfing when I was young, and I mean, I probably didn't start watching until I was, obviously older, but I've just always been drawn to it.
Have you ever broken a club on purpose while playing?
I haven't broken a club, but what I did do when I was 14 or 15, was golfing with a buddy at our home course, hit a wonderful drive right down the middle, had about 100 yards in. Then I proceeded to top my chip into the water, and I was a bit of a hothead back then, and
Okay.
chucked the pitching wedge into the water with the ball.
Oh man. I
Had some explaining to do to the parents on that one.
I bet. I've left my clubs. I do it all the time. I'll grab
Like you leave them at the course?
I'll leave them on like the previous hole. So I'll get out of my
Okay.
cart
Yeah.
and I'll take my pitching wedge
Oh yeah,
and my putter.
everybody does that.
I'll chip on. I'll leave my wedge and then
Yeah.
I'll move on. And I'm 2 holes later. I'm like, oh wait, I don't
Like,
have my
do you
wedge.
do this multiple times around, or
Yeah,
just?
it happens
Oh,
all
okay,
the
that's
time.
not.
I'm
normal.
just so happy to finally get off the hole. You
like
know?
once in a while you can see it, but
I left. So if you look at my golf bag, you're immediately like, yeah, this guy knows he's not very good. Every club in my bag, I got for free, except for one. I got them from like a Goodwill adjacent store.
okay.
They were like cleaning it out, and I was like, "Can I just have these?" And they're like, "Absolutely." If you look at my bag, there's no stand on it. You have to like balance it.
Okay.
And so I always, which like I'm playing with a cart anyway, so like
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Yep.
My buddy tried to get me to walk one time, and he looked over, and I was leaning it up against a tree, like walking back and forth because I couldn't get it to stand up. And he
That's
was
so
like,
good.
let's go get a cart. And I was like, thank you. I tried to tell you, but
That's great.
yeah. And so I've thrown my driver on multiple occasions.
Oh yeah, as a kid, I was such a hothead. Like there were many times where I would probably throw my club further than I hit the ball. So
Okay.
yeah, that's a truth. That's happened before.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to everybody,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I love it when like the pros get upset.
Yeah, you see that a lot, like at the U.S. Open, because the U.S. Open's goal is for them not to break par. Like they want right around even,
Okay.
and so they narrow the fairways. The rough is crazy high for what they're used to playing, and it just, I always say it's good to see that once in a while because it's like, okay, so they're not perfect all the time.
They're not. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to see it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably looking winning score somewhere the way they're going right now. Like the leader's 5 under.
Mhm.
Because they're going to make the course tomorrow. It's going to be tough because they don't want the scoring to go too low. So I would say somewhere around 10 under would be
Okay.
my guess that'll win it, whoever that is.
Where's Scotty at? Is he's probably
He was 2 or 3 under yesterday. I forget
Okay.
exactly what he was at.
I'm just glad he had his kid in time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Whenever that happens, I always think about Dan and like, get a calendar, man. Let's
Yeah, that's right.
let's schedule
I
this
remember
out.
him saying that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, but all right. Who do you think wins it? And then I'll let you go.
Let me look at the. Yeah, I think Xander Schauffele's right there. He's 2 under. He's just kind of in, but gosh, and again, I'm just picking somebody that's not the favorites, like your Rory or Scotty
Yeah.
So
You're Sam Burns. sitting at the
yeah,
top.
yeah. I'm gonna go out and say I'll say Xander gets it done
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, I love that. I like Xander.
at a score of 9 under.
Okay.
How's that for
score 2?
prediction?
That's great. I hope.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I hope it hits. Let's do it. All right, Tim. Thanks for your time, man.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
You got it. A little bit of Masters talk there with the one and only Tim Walters. He's going to be our golf guy from now on. because when I ask them questions, he's nice to me about it. So today is Friday, which means we got Fun List Friday coming your way in about 3 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. We got Zack Gray joining the show here in about 20 minutes. We're going to have Zack Hicks on here in about an hour and 20 minutes. Zack Hicks is going to talk Colts. Zack Gray, who knows what he and I are going to talk about. It'll be all over the map. Like normal, before we get into that, though, it's Friday, which means it's time for Fun List Friday. We do this every Friday. And let's see how many times I can say Friday in this segment.
Take a shot every time you hear Jonathan say Friday.
Seriously, I'm off to a hot start.
There you go.
I said it about 5 times in about 60 seconds there. So the NFL draft, it's not far away. The Colts currently have 7 picks in the upcoming NFL draft. They'll have more I'm assuming that they're going to move Kenny Moore for some picks. And so I'm doing 8 prospects. 8 prospects that I like the idea of the Colts taking. And yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes. So you're going to notice a theme here. Let's start at the top here. Zion Young. This is a name that you're going to hear a lot about. Okay, this dude is 6'6", 262 pounds. He's an edge rusher coming out of Missouri. And the thing that I like about him, I want my football players to look like football players. You know what I mean? Whenever you see Myles Garrett, you're like, that guy's an edge rusher. You see Leatu Latu, I don't think that you're convinced that that guy's an edge rusher in the NFL. So Zion Young kind of fits that mold of he passes the off the bus test. Like when he gets off the bus, you're like, yeah, that guy's here to play football. And, he played really well last year at Missouri, 16 and a half tackles for loss in a single season. That's a really nice number to be at. It means this is not only a guy who's going to rush the passer, this is a guy who can help them defend the run as well. I know that that's not sexy, and that's what everyone said about Kwity Paye. He's a good run defender. I get it, and that's not what you want from your edge rusher, but it is something that is needed. So I like the idea of the Colts taking Zion Young. I think Dennis Sutton, another edge out of Penn State, another big guy, 6'6", 250, 17 sacks and 25 tackles for loss over his last 2 seasons at Penn State. I know Penn State underachieved and James Franklin got fired, but ultimately they still had a lot of good players. That's why they were able to push Indiana to the brink last year. So he's a little stiff, right? Probably needs to be a little more flexible, get a little more bend in his game, but he's quick. He gets off blocks, and I think that's a really good place to start when it comes to drafting an edge rusher in the second round, right? Like you're not getting Reuben Bain at this point. You're not getting anybody like that. So I've got him second. Number 3, this is a name I have not seen people bring up as much. Gabe Yakus. He's an edge, played at Illinois. Another big guy, 6'4", 260. Pretty sturdy guy. Not like a great athlete, but had a really good final season at Illinois. 11 sacks, 13 and a half tackles for loss. So the production is there in a really good conference. I don't think this is the guy that the Colts would take. They seem to like guys that are, I think, a little bendier, a little more athletic. And Gabe Yakus doesn't really seem to be that. I just really like the production that he showed at Illinois. Now, this is my favorite prospect for the Colts that makes sense. Anthony Hill is a linebacker out of Texas. I love this guy. Okay. In 3 years at Texas, he had 31 and a half tackles for loss, 17 sacks, 3 interceptions, 8 forced fumbles. This guy can do everything. He can stop the run. He's a really good blitzer. He can cover. He just checks every single box that you want for your linebackers to check, including size, 6'2", 240. Like, this is a guy who could show up and immediately be a positive impact for the Indianapolis Colts. Okay? And, like, I think peak, like, if he were to reach his ceiling, this is a guy who could maybe sniff all-pro. We'll see. So, Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas is a guy that I really, really like. We've seen a lot of people mock Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech, to the Colts. And that dude just took the football away. And ultimately, if you want to be an impact defensive player, you have to take the football away. So, you go back to last year, 4 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, a couple fumble recoveries, all of that was enough to get him on the podium for the Heisman. And look, if you're a Heisman finalist and you play defense, it's a really impressive thing. He's not quite as big as Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. It's part of why I like Anthony Hill a little bit more. Jacob Rodriguez is 6'1", 230. Covers really well, which is obviously an important thing. He plays well in space, and that's important because the entire NFL game is in space. So Jacob Rodriguez comes in 5th. And then 6th, I've got Kyle Lewis, linebacker out of Pitt. played in the ACC. He's had a really productive last 2 seasons, 24 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 6 interceptions over the last 2 years. Again, he's smaller. That's why I'm not quite as high on him. He's 6 feet, 220 pounds. That's a safety. That's not really a linebacker. So with that being said, because he's a little bit smaller, he covers really well, and that's a really important part of this Lou Anarumo defense. He likes to play man. He's unafraid to leave linebackers out there on islands, and so a guy like Kyle Lewis makes a lot of sense for that reason. Okay, 7th. This is the only wide receiver that I have on my list here, because ultimately in the 2nd and 3rd round, we need to see the Indianapolis Colts go defense, especially now that, Kenny Moore is leaving. So here I have a wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I'm going to butcher his name. Dejon Stribling, I believe is how you pronounce it. Wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And he's a separator. That's really what I want to see from whoever the Colts end up taking at wide receiver, because I'm sure that they're going to take one at some point during the draft. He's a separator who runs good routes and can really stretch the field with speed. Right? He ran a 4.3 40. Give me that guy. Give me the guy who runs a 4.3. And a lot of those guys who run 4.3s lack the size to play on the outside. Stribling does not. 6'2", 207 pounds. Give me that guy. That's a big wide receiver who can fly and has the quickness to run good routes. Like that is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what you're looking for whenever you want a wide receiver. He's a little bit different from Alec Pierce, which I think would be a good thing. I know people are talking about Surratt, like how would he fit here in Indianapolis? I like Elijah Surratt. I don't think he's much of a separator. And sure, he's good against zone coverage and he can make contested catches, but that's what Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren are there for. So I just think that they need something a little bit different at that other wide receiver spot. Adonai Mitchell was supposed to be that. He's obviously not. He's playing for New York now. So hopefully Stribling could be a guy that the Colts may go out and get and bring in, who could hopefully come in and give them a little bit of a boost. And for the 8th pick, or for the 8th guy on my list, this is my guilty pleasure spot. I'm going to go Garrett Nussmeier. The Colts are not going to take him, but I would love it if they did. Fernando Mendoza's probably going to be the best quarterback in this draft class, but I want to remind everybody of something important. When you go back 2 years, go back 2 seasons worth of college football, the belle of the ball was not Fernando Mendoza. It was Garrett Nussmeier, son of the offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. So going into last year, there were extremely high expectations for Nussmeier and that LSU team that underachieved because Brian Kelly isn't a very good coach, but also because Garrett Nussmeier played all year with an abdominal injury that clearly impacted the way that he played. The Colts need a better quarterback if they're going to win playoff games. Okay, I'm telling you guys, Daniel Jones is not the answer, and so they won't do this. But if in the 3rd or 4th round they took Garrett Nussmeier, I would be so freaking happy. I would be overjoyed at the idea of that. And so that's my guilty pleasure pick for the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk more draft with Zach Hicks coming up at 2 o'clock. We'll probably talk to Zack Gray about the draft a little bit as well. He's a big football guy. He's sadly an Ohio State fan. That's okay, Not all of us can be perfect, right? So that is your Fun List Friday. 8 prospects that the Colts should be looking at. One more time for you. Zion Young, an edge rusher out of Missouri. Danny Dennis Sutton, an edge rusher out of Penn State. Gabe Yakus, an edge rusher out of Illinois. Anthony Hill Jr., a linebacker out of Texas. Jacob Rodriguez, a linebacker out of Texas Tech. Kyle Lewis, linebacker out of Pitt. And then Dejon Stribling, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And then my guilty pleasure pick, Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU. So this morning, I woke up, went and got coffee with a good friend of mine that I get coffee with on every Friday morning. And then I got home at like 8:30 at like 8:30 this morning. And I was like, man, like, what am I going to do? Normally I go to the gym, but I ran 4 miles yesterday. I'm running 10 on Sunday. I was like, I'm good. I think I'm just going to stay home today and skip the gym. And so I like a good documentary as much as anybody. And Netflix has a really good series of documentaries. It's like the untold stories, right? And they have an untold documentary on chess, which as soon as you hear it, you're like, that sounds so incredibly boring. Okay, but I'm telling you right now, it's not. When you watch the trailer, there's an interview clip where the interviewer asks one of the main subjects of the documentary, Hans Niemann, quote, "Have you ever played chess with anal beads?" The look on Chris's face perfectly summarized.
I did not see that coming.
Perfectly summarized the way that I felt. And I was like, okay, we have to watch this. It's incredible. I would recommend it to anybody. So basically there's this guy, his name is Magnus Carlsen. He's known as like the best chess player ever. And he goes to this tournament and he loses very randomly to Hans Niemann, this American guy who's from New York and is like the total opposite of how chess people are supposed to act. He is loud and he gloats, and if he loses, he's visibly upset. And so you have this unique chess player, and you've got, the best player in the world, and he loses, and so he accuses him of cheating. Which, like it's a big deal, right? And then you find out that Hans Niemann had cheated before. He would cheat whenever he would play chess online on chess.com. And so now, like, there's real legs to this accusation, and they're trying to figure out how he would have cheated in person, though. And one of the theories is he used anal beads to know what move to play and all these kinds of things. And it's fascinating.
I don't even have words, man.
I heard it. I was like, look, I want to win in everything that I do. I don't think I'm going to win that badly, though.
That's a new one. I've not ever heard anything like that in
I
my
know.
life.
It's the documentary is it's like an hour and 15 minutes. And it's so good. It's funny. The people that they interview people from like chess.com, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but in the chess community, it's a big deal. It's where everyone plays chess. And so the whole thing's fascinating. You learn that this Hans kid, when he was 16 years old, moved away from home, moved to New York City, and lived by himself, and was like, I'm going to make money playing chess. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And sure enough, he obviously does. He's a big part of it. And so the whole thing is just, it's fascinating.
I tell you what, Jonathan, if I open up my Amazon account and it suggests to me that I should buy anal beads, we're going to have words.
Okay, fair enough. That's totally fair. I didn't even think about that.
You know that's what happens.
Yeah,
Our
that
phones
is
listen
exactly
to
what happens.
this.
You're gonna get on Instagram later today.
Oh, I hear you're shopping for anal beads.
Yeah,
I'm like, no.
You're gonna be like, some listener's gonna secretly ship them to your door. You're like, oh, who did that?
No, Siri. Bad Siri.
Yeah, seriously. So pretty nuts, man. The whole thing, like I said, it's fascinating. And so, but like my favorite thing about it is like, how like sometimes you see people's face, you see someone's face, and you're just like, I know that guy sucks. That is this Magnus Carlsen guy. He just looks like this pretentious douchebag, and you can tell the whole time he's like annoyed that he's having to like do an interview about this. And I'm like, man, I'm glad you lost, And so
What's the name of this documentary?
it is called Chessmates.
Okay.
And it is, again, really good. Highly recommend. There's no overly major sporting event happening this weekend. So, if you have some time tomorrow, you don't want to watch the third round of the Masters, I would recommend for you to check it out. And you also need to check out at ZG the Grapevine on X. That is my guy, Zack Gray, the best sports gambler that you will find. He joins the show in 4.5 minutes.
Okay. 10K, 9 holes. Those guys bet for like cookies.
I feel like I'm gonna shank it.
This guy's been training like a Navy SEAL when it comes to golf.
I'm very, very excited. You excited?
Yeah.
Full Send Golf. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show, hour number 2, getting underway. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to, especially when the one and only Zack Gray is joining the show at ZG the Grapevine on X. If you want to win some bets, go and follow him. What's going on, Zack? How are you, man?
Jay Smith, wonderful Friday, and it was great to hear during that little break there, home of the Cincinnati Reds. That just was off the tongue really well.
It really does, and it makes me happy. It gives me a little bit more of an excuse to talk baseball. You're a Reds fan. What are kind of your thoughts and early on here in the season?
I'm glad you asked, Jay Smith, because I actually have a little 2-team parlay for you if you want it now.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we are going to stay with the Red theme. So I really like the Reds tonight against the Angels. Reds fans listening know this guy. I don't know, other team fans may not, but Chase Burns is a guy. He might be the Reds ace when this is all said and done, over Hunter Green, over Nick Lodolo. So I like them over the Angels tonight. And I want to parlay that with the Red Sox over the Cardinals. This sounds like hate because I hate the Cardinals, but I think Dustin May is really, really not good. I think his injury history has totally derailed his career. The Red Sox, slow start. I'm buying low on them. I think they're kind of coming out of it. They've lost 5 games on the road in a row here. I think they get one on the board. So parlay the Reds and the Red Sox. I think that's my parlay tonight in the game of baseball, Jay Smith.
There you go, at ZG the Grapevine on X. Check out the link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. We're taking the Reds on the money line and the Sox on the money line. And, Zack, you and I, we disagree on a lot of things when it comes to sports, and that's okay. But one of the things that we can unite over is our hate for the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's nice. We can also unite over our hate over Michigan. And did it ruin your week when they won on Monday?
Yes. And I was just sitting there. I was in Discord with a couple of my buddies watching the game, and two of us, my good friend Michael Tracy had UConn to win. I had UConn to win, and it was just really, really disheartening. We were texting during the game, and you could just tell that I was just really sad. I wasn't really mad. I was just sad about the way that game went.
Yeah, the officiating didn't help.
I'm not a hate the officials guy, Jay Smith. I'm not to blame the refs guy. I'm not, but I had no choice. It was awful. It was Elliot Cadeau flopping all over the place. Michigan was allowed to play 3-4, cover 3 the whole night on defense. and UConn, just didn't get the ability to play as physical, it felt like. And, you got to make shots to win those type of games. UConn didn't make enough shots. There's a lot of things that can be said, but I do think that final score is different if the game is officiated differently.
I agree with that. I thought that the officiating underneath the basket, I thought was fine. For me, the frustrating part was as soon as UConn crossed half court, Michigan had hands on them. And then when UConn would put hands on Michigan guards, it was a really quick whistle. Which, like you said, that obviously helped Michigan. I thought late in the first half, Coach Hurley, he talked about it after the game. The foul trouble and Michigan getting to go on that run late because they were in the double bonus. I thought that really ultimately ended up being the difference in the game.
You know what play really encapsulates how I felt about that game? It was that play late in the second half. Cadeau has the ball on the wing. Tight defense, physical defense, but Cadeau just slips and falls, and they call a foul.
Yeah.
He goes to the line, makes 2 free throws. I think that's like right at the beginning of that big run, that knockout shot where I think they went up 11. And it's like that right there, man. Like you've got to be better as an official to know when a guy is going to try and bait foul calls, and he was doing it all game. But yeah, it made me sad, not only because I really love UConn. I love UConn basketball. I love Dan Hurley and that whole program. But just to see Michigan win another title in the last couple of years in a different sport, it's really, 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 it makes my blood boil because they're a bunch of cheaters. And I think they cheated, and I'm not sure how they cheated this year, but I'm going to find out.
Joined by Zack Gray at ZG the Grapevine on X. Follow him there if you want to win some bets. Yeah, I'm sure they cheated too, man. That's just who they are. Okay. Everyone complains about the transfer portal, and I'm gonna do that here a little bit in a different way.
You always do.
In a different way. Okay. I don't think it's fair is not the right word because nothing in life is fair. I just wish that the transfer portal didn't open at midnight of the national championship game. That way we had like a day to like talk about this incredible run from Michigan from the start of the year all the way to the end without having to like talk about transfer portal stuff. I just wish we had one day where we could like take in the season before moving on to like, oh no, Coach DeVries lost everybody on this roster that didn't make the NCAA tournament. What are we going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, I think all of the things, the NIL, the transfer portal, all of that stuff is inherently good on its face. It's just, and, Josh Pate and other, football analysts and college basketball analysts, they all say the same thing, and it's so obvious. It's just the schedule needs to be reworked in college athletics, football more so than basketball. But if we can get like a league season like the NFL does, like have certain time markers for certain things, that way you're not having transfer portal talk and people moving teams right after the national championship game, that would make things a lot better. And like, I don't know why it can't happen. And I've heard some arguments about the academic calendar and things of that nature, but all these high level college athletes and they have the option to be online exclusively for their classes. Like, you're telling me a kid can't make up an online class if he is a couple weeks late? Like, there's ways to get around this. And you're right, though. Like, I know you're not really mad at the transfer portal. You're mad at the way that the calendar breaks down.
Yeah. Also, it is kind of insane that at one point, like, half of the eligible basketball players for next year were in the portal. That's a little insane. But, yeah, it's just the calendar of it isn't great because I do think, like, that's one of the fun parts about sports is, like, looking back on the full season and getting to kind of talk about all the craziness that's happened. And I feel like with college sports, we're losing that a little bit. We're also losing dynasties as well. I talked about this yesterday a little bit, and I'd like your thoughts on it. Like, this isn't going to happen, I don't think. But, like, let's take Michigan basketball. If they were, like, 500 next year and missed the tournament, like, I don't think it'd be the most surprising thing ever because they're replacing everybody. And looking at Indiana, I was really talking about this more from a football perspective. Like, when you look at all the transfers for IU last year that helped them win a national title, you work through them. And I just think it's really hard to go like 7 for 7 on impact transfers year in and year out. Who do you think are some of the teams that we're going to see kind of rise this upcoming college football season, and some of the teams that we may see slip a little bit just because it's hard to get everything right in the portal every year when you're adding like 25 guys?
I think it really comes down to, and this is kind of cliche, but I think it's who can build the best culture. Like, I think the teams that you see that have high turnover and have a lot of transfer portal turn each year. It's teams that, the teams that succeed in that area are teams that already have a good base, like in Indiana, I'll throw Missouri in there with Drink. Teams like that have a baseline of what is expected at the program, and teams that are willing to say, no, we're not going to take this guy because he is too focused on NIL or he doesn't have the same vision that we have. So I think Missouri is a really good case for a team that I think is really building it the right way. I trust Drink, and I think that the culture that he has there, Texas Tech is another one, obviously, but really want to look at how is the culture there? Is there a lot of high-level guys that are leaving? Is there, are they developing freshmen? Are their freshmen staying longer than a year or two? Like, things like that are kind of the markers that I look at. And it seemed like Missouri, I think, could rise in the SEC, especially in a very weak SEC.
Dude,
I can see Missouri kind of coming to the top there.
Have you seen Indiana's, joined by Zack Gray at ZG the Grapevine on X? He gave out some bets earlier. He said to take the Reds on the money line against the Angels tonight, and you can parlay that with the Red Sox on the money line against the Cardinals. Have you seen Indiana's schedule for football?
It's kind of weak, right?
Incredibly. It's
I
don't know if you caught Tom Fornelli yesterday. He was on Cannell's podcast, and he was like, my bold prediction is IU was going to go 9-3 and miss the playoff. And I immediately looked at the schedule, and I was like, they might lose one game, and that's going to be at home to Ohio State on October 17th. Outside of that, though, I don't know, man. I don't think Rutgers is sneaking up on IU or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't think the home opener against North Texas is an upset alert?
I mean, maybe if North Texas had been able to retain their head coach.
I think they have one. I think I saw something that they have one returning guy who played snaps last year. It might not be that crazy, but it's something like that. It's kind of wild.
I mean,
I
would believe
your
it.
point on the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, I would believe it. I don't find it all that. I mean, I don't know. All these rosters, especially like the mid-major teams, like their rosters just get bludgeoned every year. Which good for those guys moving up and making more money. I guess I don't know.
Indiana is that type of team that has built a culture, and you heard Cignetti talk about it. Like, in a perfect world, he doesn't want to build through the portal exclusively. He wants to recruit high school kids and develop them through the program. And you're seeing a drop-off every year of how many transfer portal guys that they get because they are building that culture. And I think that's the marker. Player movement's going to happen. Ohio State lost a ton of potential starters in the portal, but they were asking for more money than Ohio State was willing to give them. And Ohio State trusts its culture enough to either bring in older veterans like Earl Little and guys that they did and supplement them with younger guys. And I think you see sustained success with those type of programs that kind of put a foot down to a certain point. And yeah, it might not help you when it comes to top end talent, but you're going to have guys that are there for the right reasons. And I'd rather have a team full of guys that are there pulling in the same direction than a team like, I don't know, Ole Miss is a bad example now that they kind of made their run, but they were Texas A&M, but before Elko got there, like that kind of team. I'd rather have an Indiana built team or a Missouri built team than one of those Texas A&M teams that had like 7 5-stars that didn't play more than a year, that type of thing.
Yeah, you can throw Ohio State in there as well. I know you're probably trying not to be biased, but I think that they've done a really good job of building the same culture. They just need to convince Ryan Day to never call plays ever again, and then they'll be fine. Who is going to call plays for them this year?
Arthur Smith.
Oh, that's right. I love that he's going and getting NFL guys. I think that's really smart. I didn't want to ask.
He's doing the Saban thing.
He is. It's really smart. I did want to ask you. I've only got a couple minutes left here. You watch as much college basketball as anybody, and you have an appreciation for the NBA. Who do you think the Pacers should take first overall if they end up winning the lottery?
Ooh, probably DeBanza.
That's what I think. But everyone, Here's the thing that I've been thinking about. I keep thinking back to the 2020 Warriors where they were still in the title window and they tried to do that thing where they bridged them together. And I just don't know. I think that's a really hard thing to do. There's a part of me that's just kind of like, do they just take Boozer, a guy who they know is going to slot in immediately and fit in well, and just make your run right now and worry about the future whenever it gets here?
Why do you think Debanza can't do that?
I don't know. That's a really good question. My thing with Debanza, look, I like Debanza. If none of that other stuff mattered, I would take him first. Let me say that up front. I don't think the shooting is quite there. I think he shot like 33% from three this last year. He was on the ball, and not saying he can't play off the ball. We just saw him on the ball more than anything else because of all the injuries that happened at BYU. I just feel like I've seen a little bit more of Boozer fit in, I think is probably the right word, than we saw from Debanza, but that's obviously more of a situational thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the mock drafts are sliding, maybe not a lot of them, but I've seen a lot that have slid Debanza down to like the 3 spot and have like Boozer and Peterson 1-2. I don't think you can go wrong with Debanza or Boozer, but I actually think, and this might be crazy, I don't think Darren Peterson is going to be that guy.
I don't either. Like whenever I watch, like he's clearly highly skilled. I just don't think he has like the burst. You know, like this isn't fair because I'm about to compare him to arguably the best player on the planet. But like when you watch SGA or any great guard, like when you watch them, there is something to their first step that is just different than everybody else. And whenever I watch Darren Peterson, he just didn't feel like he was quicker than anyone who was guarding him. If you know what I mean.
And I think I'd rather have Acuff over him. Is that crazy?
I see. Oh man. I don't think it's crazy, but I don't know. I just think it's really hard to win with small guards. Just with where the NBA is going, with all these, Cade Cunninghams and Tyrese Halliburtons, and I would rather have Wagler than Darren Peterson.
Wow,
I love.
You're
Wagler.
That high on Wagler.
I love his game, man. He
came out of nowhere.
He did. He come out of nowhere.
Which is why I'm a little worried about it. Like, why all of a sudden? Like, what happened? Like, was he just in a system where there was a bunch of bigs and he had a green light? Like, I feel like there's some concerns there from my side, but shout out to him for putting himself in the lottery for sure. But I just think when you're talking about an Acuff, Caleb Wilson, Boozer, Peterson, Debanza, I think you're talking about a different class. I don't think Wagler's in that kind of class.
My thing with Wagler, last thing here, and I'll let you go. Once again, joined by Zack Gray at ZG the Grapevine on X. Check out the link in his bio where he sells tools to help you make better bets. So my thing with Wagler, about him coming out of nowhere, I was listening to Doug Gottlieb. He did an interview, and look, Doug Gottlieb's coaching at Green Bay. Wagler wasn't going to go play for Green Bay. So here's what he said. Whatever AAU circuit Wagler was on, it wasn't like EYBL or the Adidas circuit or anything like that. It was one of the smaller ones. And apparently whoever his coach is was calling people and was like, I have a pro. And Brad Underwood was the only one who listened. And then Gottlieb did a whole thing on like, there's 1,000 players in the portal, plus there's freshmen. You just don't have time to look at everyone. And so I think it's because he was on a smaller circuit, and even if he did just get the green light because of the team he was on, the dude still shot like 38% from three and finished decently well around the rim. But hopefully as he kind of gets older and gets a little stronger, he finishes a little better.
Do not draft Jackson Lindenberg. That's my final take of the day.
I agree with you. I can't stand that guy. All right, Zach. Thanks for your time, man. Do you want to give out that bet one more time before you go?
Yes, sir. We're going to take the Reds on the money line and parlay that with the Red Sox on the money line. You can do singles, straight bets each. That's probably what I'll do. But I'm giving out a parlay tonight that I'm confident in.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
See you, Jay Smith.
See you, buddy. That is Zack Gray. Follow him on X at ZG the Grapevine. Check out the link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. And I'm serious, that guy, he's the best sports gambler I know. Better than Sackman, as much as I love Sackman. Zack Gray does an excellent job. So, speaking of doing an excellent job, let's talk about Chris Ballard. Not really, because he's doing a terrible job. Kenny Moore requested a trade this morning. My thoughts on that in 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Big thanks to Zack Gray for joining me in that last segment. Professional sports gambler. He gave us Reds on the money line tonight against the Angels, and he also said to take the Red Sox on the money line against the Cardinals. So, it is 1:20, which means it is time for your Masters update. Biggest tournament of the year. And sitting at the top, why does my screen look like this? Give me 1 second here. You know me, just super prepared for these Masters updates. That is that's the theme. All right, can we start that over? Can you play the music again from the beginning?
Sure.
My bad.
Whenever you're ready, buddy.
This is amateur hour. All right, here we go. Masters update. Sitting at the top is still Sam Burns. He recently just started his round. He started about an hour ago. He is even Today, he is even through 3. Overall, though, he is 5 under. He is tied with Rory McIlroy for first. He is set to tee off here in about 19 minutes. Tied for third, you've got Wyndham Clark at 4 under. Justin Rose is also 4 under for the tournament. He's 2 under today. Wyndham Clark coming out of nowhere. He's 4 under today. Tyrell Hatton, Shane Lowry, Jason Day, and Patrick Reed are all tied for 5th at 3 under. Then there's a nice little cluster of guys at 2 under, including players like Xander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler. He's even on the day through 10. Brooks Koepka sitting there at 2 under still, and so on. So that is the top of the leaderboard. Let's go to the bottom, though, the people who make us feel better about ourselves. Davis Riley is in last place. He is 18 over. He shot an 82 yesterday. It looks like he's done today as well. He shot an 80 today. So, hey, that's improvement from Davis Riley. Who else is down here at the bottom? Naoki Karaoka from Japan. He is 13 over. He's 1 over on the day after shooting an 84 yesterday. He's 1 over through 8. So, much better play from him today. He may break 80. Good for him. And so on. So that is your Masters update. And I was talking to Zack Gray in that last segment about the transfer portal and, all of those kinds of things. And, I'm seeing clips now with some of these Indiana football transfers. And, Justin Pippen is transferring to Ohio State from Cal. And, he's son of Scottie Pippen, all that good stuff. So can we just leave Coach DeVries and Indiana basketball alone? Just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. Like the portal just opened. Okay, there's no one on the roster. And yesterday, I was looking for stories. I was looking into Indiana basketball recruiting, and whenever you look at it, it's just people going crazy. They've lost their minds. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that Trent Sicily and his 4 points per game are leaving. It's the end of IU basketball. And it's just, people are going crazy. And yes, I get it. Indiana is yet to land a transfer. Right now, when you look at their roster, it's primarily the 3-4-star freshmen that they have coming in. And people are spamming the panic button. Okay? But the sky isn't falling. All right? They're going to be fine. It's a good thing that all of these guys left. And I get it. They had a lot of older players who graduated. But again, who cares if Trent Sicily and his 4 points per game leave? Oh, but Jonathan, he's an Indiana guy or whatever. Who cares, man? Who cares where kids are from? Just go win games. All right? And if Trent Sicily isn't helping you win games, then see you later, man. Walk out the door. Go lose somewhere else. Who cares if Nick Dorn is leaving? That dude averaged 8 points a game last year. Indiana was bad with these players last year. Did we forget that part? Let all of them leave. Go bring in guys who are actually going to win. Because ultimately, that is all that matters. All right? You have to go and win games. And the guys that were in the building last year didn't win. They didn't win. And ultimately, that is what the goal is. So I have no problem with, Indiana letting these guys walk. Who cares, right? You weren't winning with them, so let them leave. Speaking of winning, the Indiana Pacers won last night, and normally that's a good thing. That was a mistake, though. It's really weird when you're...
Yeah, what are we doing?
I know, why are we winning?
What's really happening? Is it because we brought up the fact that they're having a draft lottery party?
Wouldn't that be... Okay, you talk about the draft lottery party. How brutal would it be? Everyone's like, they're going to have a 52% chance for a top 4 pick, and then they win out, and then they lower their odds. It wouldn't
not going to be a fun party.
Not going to be a fun party. Not going to be a fun party.
It'd be the opposite.
So they crushed the Nets last night.
Yeah, they did.
Game wasn't close, and I was I saw it, and I was like, what are we doing? You needed to lose those games. You can't let the Nets tank better than you. Now, the good news, they do have 2 games left. They're going to play against the 76ers tonight, and then they close out their season against the Pistons at home on Sunday. And tonight against the 76ers, they're going to lose. All right? And that's all that they need to guarantee themselves the best odds to land the number 1 overall pick, because the 3 teams with the worst records all balance out, or that they all have the same odds to land the number 1 overall pick. It's like 14%. And then you have a 52% chance to land a top 4 pick. That's a big deal for the Pacers, because obviously, if they don't land a top 4 pick, if that pick falls somewhere between 5 and 9, they lose that first round pick. So they're going to give themselves a little over a coin flip chance to hold on to that pick. And if it bounces their way, the balls bounce their way, Pacers are going to be a lot of fun next year. Even if they don't, they're going to be really good. But I feel like tonight is their best opportunity to earn themselves that chance at winning, at hopefully landing in the top 4. Okay, so tonight, they're going to probably not rest players, but like Zubac isn't going to play. It'll be Quentin Jackson and Jarris Walker, just kind of like it's been all year. But the 76ers, they're still fighting for playoff position. When you look at it, they're the 7 seed. And last time I checked, but they could still end up landing they're an 8 seed with a decent chance to become the 7th seed, which is a big deal, because if you're playing in the play-in games, you obviously want to host that first play-in game. That way you can win and earn the 7th seed. Okay, so they're going to be playing hard tonight. There's still a chance as well for them to be as high as the 5 seed, which is kind of crazy that there's 3 games left, and this is how tight the race is. So we're going to see the 76ers tonight. They're going to play their guys, except for Joel Embiid, because what a surprise. Joel Embiid is hurt again. Like, I would love to be Joel Embiid.
It's always something with this guy. He's always the one that's calling in.
He's got like appendicitis right now.
Yeah.
He just can't catch a break. I kind of feel bad for him. It's just, he's going to be one of those guys in a decade. We're like, man, like what if Joel Embiid hadn't caught every disease known to man? That's what it's going to be like.
Jeez.
And so that's what he's done. He's gotten so, like, I think it was last year, he's playing on like a hurt knee, and he had something in his face, so his left eye was like lazy and moving around.
He's probably been hanging out with Anthony Richardson.
He looked
That's
like
what's
Frankenstein, man. Like, he looked like Frankenstein. He's just like limping around out there. So he's not playing tonight, but we get the return of PG-13. Paul George should be suiting up tonight. So, you can go to the game. You can boo him. I'm going to be there. Can't wait. Going to go get a nice soft pretzel. That's the best part about Pacer games, man.
I agree.
Their soft pretzels are amazing. So I'm going to do that tonight. So tonight is their best opportunity to lose and solidify their chances at landing that top 4 pick. Because on Sunday, you say, well, Jonathan, like why couldn't they lose to the Pistons? Pistons have already locked up the 1 seed. It's theirs no matter what Boston does. So they're chilling. They're load managing. They're giving guys the day off. And those are the games that I've noticed that the Pacers have won. It's been the games where, they're playing a better team that's resting players, and then all of a sudden the Pacers play really well, and then they win. It's either that or they beat the Knicks at full strength. That's how the Pacers wins have gone this year. So tonight is a great opportunity for them to finish the tank strong, earn that top 3 pick, and then we can watch Jarris Walker score 50 on Sunday.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. You said the Nets out-tanked the Pacers last night. So, and Ross has a comment here. It says the Nets better get fined for tanking last night's game. So whenever it comes to that, even though like you try to lose against a team like the Pacers who has a sorry record, do those teams get fined too? Or is it just like, well, they aren't doing good either, so you guys both suck?
That's an interesting question. The tanking thing's weird. Did you see what the Kings did?
No.
So the Kings were playing the Warriors. I can't believe this happened in a real basketball game. The Kings were investigated for tanking because they were up by 2, I think with like 4 minutes left. Okay. And the Warriors inbound the ball and they intentionally foul.
Okay.
And so Seth Curry, great free throw shooter, goes to the foul line, makes both, takes the lead, and then the Warriors go on to win the game. And so the Kings, like, they were investigated, like for trying to lose the game on purpose.
Sure.
Because why in the world would you foul when you're winning to give the other team the lead if you weren't tanking? And then the Kings go, we just made a really bad mistake. Our head coach is an idiot. And he didn't know the score. And you know what's crazy? It's believable. That's how bad the Kings have been. And that's how dysfunctional they are, where it's like, oh, yeah, our head coach is just an idiot who didn't know the score.
Or it could be some kind of suspicious. You know what that means.
Yeah. For them, and yeah.
Somebody knows something.
Somebody knows something. And so, yeah, they just, man, when I saw that, I was like, only the Kings could pass off stupidity as the reason that they weren't tanking. We weren't tanking. We're just stupid. Golly.
I wonder if that had to do something with like a money line or somebody betting something somewhere. Some kind of money was involved, I bet.
I don't know, man. I think the Kings are just incompetent across the board.
Fair enough.
insane stuff. The tank race is almost over. Pacers playing against the 76ers tonight with a chance to guarantee themselves one of the 3 worst records in basketball, which would land them a 52% chance to land a top 4 pick and keep their first round draft picks. Speaking of first round draft picks, the Colts don't have any this year. We're going to have Zach Hicks on the show coming up here in about 25 minutes to talk about the draft and the Kenny Moore trade request. I'll give you my thoughts on the trade request in 3 minutes.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. Go head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, 1430 a.m. as well. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. And the news of the day, Kenny Moore and the Indianapolis Colts have mutually agreed to trade Kenny Moore. And this is not a complicated thing. I don't think that this is, necessarily. I don't think that this reflects bad on Chris Ballard and the Colts or anything like that. Okay? I don't think this is Kenny Moore calling for help. The guy's been here for 9 years. All right? If he didn't like it, he would have left sooner. That's just the reality of it. And at some point, every player wants to win. The only way that you could twist this and turn it on Ballard and say that it's his fault that Kenny Moore wants to leave would be a really obvious thing in saying, Chris Ballard, you don't have this team ready to win a Super Bowl in year 10. Because, that's why Kenny Moore wants to leave. At some point, everybody wants to win. Kenny Moore's 30 years old. He's at a point in his career where he's tired of losing in Indianapolis. Okay, I get why he wants to leave. And we see this happen all the time in sports. Guys come, on they get to the back end of their primes, their career kind of starts to go downhill a little bit. And then what do? They're like, I haven't won a championship yet. So let me go somewhere where I might be able to do that. You got the guys like Jason Taylor, who did that, played for the Dolphins for a long time, got to the end of his career, still had a little bit left in the tank. He goes to play for the Jets. That's not an abnormal thing. Odell Beckham Jr., 6 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it was, spends all that time in New York. They can't really figure it out. He's like, all right, fine. He ends up going and playing for the Rams, and he wins the Super Bowl. Right? And you see stuff like this happen all the time. And that's very simply all that's happening here. Okay, Kenny Moore is just a 30-year-old guy who wants an opportunity to play in the playoffs a little bit before he retires. And the timing of it makes sense as well. He's in the final year of his contract. All right, and someone here on the YouTube chat said Kenny doesn't believe in next year. I wouldn't believe in the Colts next year either. Yeah, that's exactly why he's leaving. He doesn't believe in the Colts next year, and he shouldn't. Why would he? This team's going to go 8-9 or 9-8 again. I think anybody that has a heartbeat knows that. Okay, I got a nephew who's almost 3. I say, hey, what's the Colts record going to be this year? And he'd probably go 9-8. I'd be like, hey, man, you're right. Good job.
He's not wrong.
He's not. And so, again, he's a 30-year-old slot corner in the final year of his contract. The Colts probably didn't want to resign him at the end of the year. If they did, then when he became extension eligible, they probably would have hammered one out, right? But the Colts probably don't want to resign him because of his age, and he doesn't want to stay because the Colts are very good. That is mutual, okay? And so the Colts also have more than enough starting talent at corner. They have Charvarius Ward. They made the trade for Sauce Gardner. They loved what they saw from Justin Wally in camp last year before he tore his ACL. They drafted Justin Wally with the end of Kenny Moore in Indianapolis in mind. So they don't need Kenny Moore here in Indy to feel good about their top-end talent. They need him for depth. And guess what? I was, chatting with Kevin Potts off the air earlier. We were tweeting back and forth. He laid it out. He's like, there's some good corners in this draft who can play in the slot. There's still some guys on the free agent market that the Colts could go get. So this makes sense, right? Not everything is a big deal. Not everything is Chris Ballard is the worst. That's it a lot of the times. But this is one of those occasions where that's not the case. This is a mutual thing where the Colts want to trade Kenny Moore. That way he doesn't just walk in the offseason. That way they're actually able to get something in return. Okay, because there's nothing worse than an asset just walking out the door and getting nothing for it. If you can turn Kenny Moore into like a 5th-round pick, then the Colts should absolutely do that. Okay, especially when you have a guy behind Kenny Moore that you trust to come in and, be your starting slot corner in Justin Wally. So I think Kenny Moore, he'll be gone probably before the draft or before the end of the draft. I think Ballard's going to try to leverage him into hopefully grab in, like an extra 5th-round pick. Maybe they pair like Kenny Moore and a 4th-round pick to pick up a 2nd, 3rd, or something like that. I think we'll see the Kenny Moore trade happen sooner rather than later. So, Chris, you turned your mic on. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to ask any early predictions on where you think Kenny Moore might end up.
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me think here. I think let me pull up a list of teams. That'll help me. I think a place like the Rams makes a lot of sense for him. That's a team that needs a little bit of help in the secondary. Kind of fits what a lot of their corners look like too. They're a little smaller on that front. New England wouldn't need one. Buffalo would actually make a lot of sense for him because Buffalo's issue forever has been their defense. So a place like Buffalo, I think, would make some sense. I think they're only going to send him to a place where they feel like he can win. I think they're going to do him a little bit of a favor because he's been here for 9 years and he's just been a really good Colt while he's been here. Let me think. The Chargers would make sense. Their secondary's getting a little bit older. They're looking to kind of make a push and maybe win a playoff game. I think a place like that would make sense. Kansas City, I think, would make sense. I didn't think that they were great at slot corner last year. This is without me going through and looking at all the assets that these teams have to trade as well. I think Green Bay would make some sense. Minnesota, I think, would make sense. Ryan Grigson getting another former Colt, that always makes sense, right?
Do you think he could end up on the Titans reuniting with Gus Bradley?
No, I don't think that they want. It's very it could have happened, sure. I think it's very uncommon for divisional trades to happen.
Fair enough.
Because like the last thing that you want to do is trade Kenny Moore to the Titans, let's say, and then all of a sudden like you have to play him twice a year, and then he picks you off, and he ends up being the reason that you lose, and then the following morning you have to turn on the Real Jonathan Smith show and hear him and all the callers slander you for trading Kenny Moore to the Titans.
Fair point.
Or the Jags or the Texans or whoever. So that's a really good question, though. I would like to know 317-228-1430. If you have any thoughts on Kenny Moore asking for a trade and the Colts being more than willing to send him on his way, if you have any preference on where he goes and what the Colts get in return. I think the 49ers, I think that's another place that would make some sense for him, just in terms of a team that's going to be looking to add a little bit more. So yeah, I think there's several teams. Like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, if you want to make a run, you need a good slot corner. Like, that's something that you have to have if you want a chance to win, because there's just so many guys now that move around and will line up in the slot. There's so many tight ends who will line up in the slot, and so you have to have a nickel corner who can get out there and cover. And Kenny Moore is on a short list of the best players in football when it comes to doing that. So I think that they're going to have a lot of options, and I'm thinking that they'll get like a fourth or fifth round pick for him. We'll talk to Zach Hicks about that a little bit more, though. He's better at telling me how much guys are going to go for. So yeah, man, I saw something yesterday. Someone was like, maybe we can use Kenny Moore to go get that edge rusher we need. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Love Kenny Moore. I don't think people love him that much. So I think like a dream case scenario in terms of what the Colts could get back, where I would feel good about it, is like if they got a third round pick back, I think I'd be pretty elated. And if they got like a starting caliber player, not via the draft, that not via a pick that they used in the draft, but like an actual player, like if they got player X from Green Bay. Yeah, so we'll see, man. I don't know. I'm not as torn up about it as everybody else. Joe to the C saying Kenny Moore for Shadur Sanders. Absolutely not. I would rather them. No, look, the Shadur Sanders stuff. Just okay. Did you watch the Browns last year when Shadur Sanders played quarterback?
Sure. Yeah.
Whenever someone's like, "I want Shadur Sanders," I'm immediately asking how many Shadur Sanders snaps, like, did you watch last year? Because I mean, when I watched him, I don't know, he looked really average, and average at quarterback doesn't win you games. It just doesn't. And so, especially when you're in the AFC and you got to deal with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and and so on. So, yeah, no.
I agree with you there. Whenever I was watching him, even if it was just highlights on Red Zone or whatnot, we're like, man, that it looks like a Jets quarterback with the Browns jersey on.
One could argue that a Jets quarterback and a Browns quarterback are basically the same thing.
Right.
And so, I mean, hey, throw it. No, let me not be that mean. I was about to be like, you could throw Colts quarterbacks in there too. That's not true. Daniel Jones is better than Shadur Sanders and, Zach Wilson and Justin Fields and those guys. So, let me not be that rude. But yeah, I don't know. Joe to the C saying Moore and Richardson for Sanders and a backup linebacker. I don't know. If they got, I don't know, they don't need another backup linebacker. That's all that they have on the roster, it seems. Like, they don't need another backup linebacker. Yeah, I don't want Shadur. I'd rather have Daniel Jones than Shadur Sanders. And if you know how I feel about Daniel Jones, then that should tell you exactly what I think of Shadur Sanders. So, yeah, he's not the answer. There's, no. Anyway, I would rather them draft Garrett Nussmeier or Ty Simpson or something like that than go get Shadur. So, because like there's just some players, and I don't think this is entirely Shadur's fault. There's some guys who they can't be backups, or they can be backups. It's hard for them to be backups. I'm with John Buzzard. The Colts just need to finish the garage sale. Like, move everybody. Like Quentin Nelson, I know that we love him. Move him. DeForest Buckner, I know that we love him. Move him. This is something I've been pounding the table on for so long. The only way to get better in the NFL is to be bad. Like the teams that sit between 7-10 and 9-8 and pick somewhere between 11th and 16th every year, pedal in mediocrity forever because you don't have a high enough draft pick to pick anybody that's going to change your roster. You don't. Like, you're not getting Myles Garrett with the 15th pick in the NFL draft. You're not getting Andrew Luck with the 11th pick in the NFL draft. That is not happening. Here's the issue with the garage sale. The Colts don't have their first round pick next year. That's the issue with the garage sale. If someone wanted to say that's the issue with moving more in these guys, then hey, like that's totally fine. But the Colts should just move. The Colts should get rid of everybody not named Shane Steichen. That's what I think. Move off Ballard. All of your guys that are approaching their 30s, go ahead and move them. And let's get new blood in here. And let's get this thing going again. Like this is a city that's dying for a winner, to play in Lucas Oil every Sunday instead of this, redundant team that we see where it's like, yeah, they'll beat everybody that they should, and they'll lose to everybody that they should. And so let's go. Fire sale. Let's get rid of everybody and let's start fresh. Like that's what the Broncos did. The Broncos got rid of everybody, brought in Sean Payton, drafted Bo Nix, and it didn't matter that they had like $100 million in dead cap that they couldn't use because they cut Russell Wilson, right? Just rip off the Band-Aid, rebuild it, and, go find a quarterback better than Daniel Jones and go find a general manager better than Chris Ballard, and then you'll be all right. All right, simple. It's not hard. Let's just do it. All right, so We will talk to Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts about that. We'll talk NFL draft. We'll obviously talk Kenny Moore as well, and that's coming your way in 3 minutes.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. So many ways to listen. There's really no excuse not to. Hour number 3 getting underway in arguably the best way possible. We got Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts joining the show. What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing good, buddy. Great to hear you back on the air here, man. It's awesome to see.
Dude, it's good to be back, man. And I like that we're doing the video thing now. It's nice. And Chris, from now on, whenever we have new guests, we need to do a bit where we guess what their background is. I like yours.
Are you laying on the bathroom floor?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I have my mic on the bathroom floor, and it's good acoustics in here is what it is.
It sounds good. And so, like, we had Jake on earlier in the week, and he was coming from a Colts-themed nursery, and yeah, it's been fun. So, this morning's been fun. We got Kenny Moore, who wants a trade, and the Colts are fine to give it to him. I wasn't that shocked by it. I think it makes sense for both sides. What do you kind of make of the new story?
Yeah, I think it's a good process by the Colts because ultimately, like 2026 was going to be his last season if he stuck around, right? Because at the end of the year, his contract was up. He'd be 30. He'd be going into 32 next year, not this upcoming year, the year after. And it just doesn't make sense to extend that, right? So see if you can get something for him. I think the process makes sense. The way that we contextualized it, though, on Locked On Colts is, does the process make sense when you have as many holes as the Colts currently have and you don't have a ton of draft capital currently? So unless you think that you're going to get a decent pick for him, which I don't know why anybody would expect that for a guy who's going to go into his age 31 season, it's a bit of a head scratcher. I think, again, just in like altogether, it doesn't make too much. Like, it's not too big of an issue. It's just with the rest of the context of the team and the issues that they have, I don't know if you just want to make your team worse for the heck of it, and like, it's good process if you're looking long term, but short term, it makes 2026 even more of a question mark.
It does. And the interesting thing to me, or I guess one of the other questions that you have to ask is, like, Justin Wally had a really good camp last year. Like, he's coming off of a torn ACL, and like ACLs aren't as big of a deal as they used to be. You used to tear it and you were done for forever. So like, I'm sure he'll be fine, but he was a third or fourth round pick, if I remember.
Third rounder, yeah.
Third. It's like, do you really want to bet what's a really important position on a third round pick that you haven't seen play in a real game yet? That doesn't seem like a great process either.
Yeah, I do think with like those top 100 picks, you do have to get them on the field. As long as you haven't seen them already. Like, I'm not saying that you hold out into year 4 and keep getting them on the field, even if it's clear that they're not going to be that kind of guy. But I do think with top 100 picks, you do have to get them out there. It's part of just the business that is football. Is you got to get younger talent in the mix as much as possible. So I understand wanting to get Justin Wally more involved this year. It's just, again, if this was like the only hole in your roster is depth corner, then sure, like, move on from Kenny Moore and focus on getting more young corners, because the big question right now, more so than anything, is Mooney Ward's health, right? Like, he said he wants to come back and play this next season, but he's also on record saying if he gets another concussion, he might hang it up then. He had 3 concussions last year. So if he has a bad fall in training camp, then you're stuck in the same situation where Mekhi Blackman's potentially a starter for you next season, or Cam Taylor-Britt, hoping that you can get him back to what he was in 2023. So it's a little bit dicey. I like the look of the cornerback room a little bit more with Wally as like your next man up, because odds are that next man up was going to play for you right now. Your next man up on the outside is Mekhi Blackman, Cam Taylor-Britt, or Jonathan Edwards, or I guess Jalen Jones if he ever gets out of the doghouse with Lou Anarumo. So again, like, even though you have a guy in-house who can replace Kenny Moore for this next season, and you have to get him on the field, and I understand that, you're lessening that depth at outside corner when they ended up playing like 10 outside corners last year. You know that you need the depth out there. So that's more of my concern with this overall potential move that we're talking about.
Yeah, that is that is the concerning part. The question is going to be the depth. Once again, joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking about Kenny Moore and his request to be traded and the Colts' willingness to follow through on it. I know that you and Jake and Destin and I think Noah all put together like a big Colts draft guide. What do you think of the corners in this draft class? Any way that they can like find one in the 5th round that you feel okay about and anything like that?
Yeah, when it comes down to looking at corners like on day 3 of the draft, you're mostly looking for like the traits that you like because there's always going to be flaws with guys on day 3, whether it's they don't run fast enough, whether it's they do run fast enough but they're tiny, or whether they don't have the ball production, they had injuries in college. So it's all about kind of pick your flavor on day 3. There's a couple of Washington corners in this draft that are like big, long, athletic guys who are height, weight, speed freaks that could make some sense. There's also like a guy from North Carolina State, right? Hyper productive player, but ran a 4.62. What do you do with that in the NFL, right? Where it's like hyper production, but 4.62 at corner is probably not going to cut it. There's another player from Cal who was a first-team All-American, Hezekiah Massis, outstanding ball production last year. He had 5 interceptions, I think like 14 pass breakups, but he's a bit skinny and doesn't tackle super well and doesn't have the best long speed. So there are ways to address corner on day 3 of the draft. It's just how comfortable do you feel with those guys, right? Like a guy like Jonathan Edwards last year, right? The Colts paid him big time to be an undrafted free agent in here, one of the bigger undrafted free agent contracts, but mostly because he's a height, weight, speed guy that you feel like you could develop. So you could find guys like that on day 3, but how ready are they going to be for day 1 is going to be the big question there.
Yeah, and that is the question. And I want to hit on a side note really quickly. Where's D'Angelo Pons going to go? Because you talk about you guys being like size, weight, and speed. He's speed, and he's athletic, but he's also like, I'm sure they probably got him listed at like 5'10". Ain't no way that man's 5'10". There's no way.
Yeah, I think he's closer to like 5'8", 5'9", but man, that guy is so good. One of my favorite players to watch in this draft. And I'm not even just saying this because, I don't have that Indy bias, right? I'm not from Indiana. I cover the team over here from Virginia. So I was more so watching Pons from afar, not as like some close-up fan. And he's just an incredible cornerback, man. He reminds me so much of Anton Winfield, not Junior, who's currently in the NFL, but Anton Winfield, played for the Vikings and the Seahawks. Just the physicality that he brings at the corner position, the feistiness, the playmaking ability. And he does it in such a small frame, which I think normally would concern me, right? I like bigger corners. I've always been a bigger corner guy, but you can't deny the production on a championship winning team, right? Like he was incredible. I remember watching every snap of that Miami championship game, and he was the best player on the field. Like he was unstoppable out there, making multiple plays. You go back to the Oregon game, whatever it was, 2 games before that or a game before that, and he had the pick 6 to start the game by baiting the quarterback. So wherever he's going to go, I think it's going to be too low. I think he's like a top 20, top 25 player in this draft for me. I don't think he's going to get there to 47 for the Colts. I know a lot of Colts fans have been saying draft him. I would love drafting him even though they have bigger needs right now. I would love to get D'Angelo Pons in here because I think he's got true star potential. And I think anyone who watched Indiana football last year agrees, even though he is a bit tiny, but look, if you're 5'9", if you're jumping 44 inches, you're even with everybody else at that point. Right. So it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking about the upcoming NFL draft. I am firmly in the camp of the Colts should go defense on day 2. Probably the corner, Kenny Moore, probably not being there at the start of the season makes it a little different. But before that happened, I was like, I think I'd go edge rusher and then linebacker or something like that, because I still think that there are some interesting receivers on the free agent market you could go get if worst thing came to worse. How do you think the Colts are going to approach the draft, more specifically day 2, because that's probably where we're going to find the guys that are actually going to play this year?
Yeah, that'd be interesting because if we look at Chris Ballard's draft history, the 3 positions he values the most on day 2 of the draft are edge rusher, by far and away the most is edge rusher. Wide receiver and corner, though, are closely behind. So he does value those like high positional value, like spots on day 2 of the draft. So linebacker is kind of a weird one to parse through, where he's only taken, I think of like the 8 linebackers he's ever drafted, he's only taken 2 of them on day 2. Now they were big time hits for the Colts in Leonard and Okereke. So maybe he sees that need and says, let's go get a linebacker. I'm pretty good at this when I drafted on day 2. Whereas edge, it's been a lot of miss. Wide receiver, a bit hit or miss. Corner, probably more miss than hit there. So maybe he views it that way in this kind of must-win season. But I agree with you. I think just adding more reinforcement to the defense. I wouldn't hate a wide receiver in this draft, but it's about finding the right guy. And I don't know if I have that right guy on day 2 for me. Maybe you trade back a little bit. Some of these guys can make some sense, but the offense kind of already has their main focal points where it's like Pierce is going to get a ton of targets. Warren's going to get a lot of targets. You're going to feed Jonathan Taylor. Downs is going to be involved. So adding another receiver that's like an auxiliary player, I don't think does ton for this next season, where on defense, like you still need that starting edge rusher alongside Latu. You still need a starting linebacker. Heck, you could argue that you need like 3 linebackers in this draft because they just don't have much of anything at that spot. So I think defense, just reinforcing the defense, I think makes the most sense for the Colts. It's a good draft for defense on day 2 as well. I'm with you. I think like looking at linebacker, looking at edge rusher, I think there's an avenue where safety could make sense on day 2 as well. But wide receiver will be in play, I'm sure. I just don't know if it's something that I would be in love with on day 2.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're on the same page. That makes me feel way better about it. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. So, Zach, what I like to do, I like to give you my favorite potential round 2 pick for a lot of those positions. I'd like your thoughts on the guy, and then who you kind of like in there as well. At edge rusher, I really like Zion Young out of Missouri. I call them bus guys, where like they get off the bus and you're like, that guy's an edge rusher. 6'6", 260. Does a really good job defending the run, which I know everybody likes to hear whenever we talk about edge rushers. But losing a guy in Kwity Paye, who that was kind of his strength, I think it'd be nice to have someone opposite Latu who can really kind of hold the edge. Big. I don't know how athletic he is, but, I mean, when you have 16 and a half tackles for loss in the SEC, like that's worth something. At linebacker, I love Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. Like fast, athletic. Of all the other guys I've seen mocked, he's also got a little bit more size. Like he's like 10 pounds heavier than Jacob Rodriguez. Kyle Lewis out of Pitt is really small. He looks more like a safety. So I like the size and athleticism of Anthony Hill. I feel like I think he's a better blitzer as well compared to those other guys. And then if they went receiver, I want Stribling out of Ole Miss, man. 6'2", 4'3". That's my kind of guy right there. So what do you kind of make of those prospects, and who are some of the guys that you like?
Yeah, so I mean, starting with Zion Young, I think he is like the most like unflashy pick that you could make there in round 2, right? Like you said, big body guy, not super athletic, not super nimble. So a lot of his production is going to come from his power profile, which I think projects fairly well to the NFL. And I'm personally someone who's come around a little bit harder on power profiles when it comes to edge rushers. I think we're all feeling the burn of like the Jared Verse miss. So we're all like, okay, power tracks in the NFL. Obviously, look at Verse run through everybody's chest. So I do like Zion Young. I think there are some limitations with him, but if you want to win now, I think he's probably the edge rusher that helps you the most in 2026, because you feel comfortable putting him out there day 1 as a starting edge rusher, and you're going to have a very, very good run defender who can drive the pocket back in pass rushing. Like you could swing for the fences with some other guys, but you're going to help your base defense. You're going to help your early down defense so much with Zion Young. So I like that pick. Again, it's not sexy, but I think it's a good like complementary pick for what you currently have. Anthony Hill Jr. is the perfect prospect on paper for the Colts, because like on paper, everything matches up for their like size. He's a Lou Anarumo size. I think he's like 6'2", like almost 240, good arm length, good athleticism, was a green dot guy at Texas, led that defense. And even on film, I don't think he's a bad player by any means. I was just probably more impressed by some other guys on film. But again, in terms of like the traits you're looking for, in terms of the aspects of the position, a very clean player, a leader of that defense, very young still too. Like he checks every single box on paper. So it's like, if they take him, it's like, yeah, absolutely. You feel like you can do something with that player. And then Stribling, man, Stribling's one of my favorite players in the entire draft. I absolutely love Dejon Stribling. I loved him at the beginning when he was like this 4th or 5th round prospect. And I was like, I'd take him probably round 3. Like, I really do like his film. Round 2 might be a bit rich for me because I still want to see a little bit more production, I think, from a player, especially from an older player. He's a 5th-year senior this past season. And he was like the number 2 in that offense. Very good number 2 and exploded in the college football playoff. Had a really good college football playoff. But there are a little bit of concerns that push him more to like round 3 for me. But I think he can be a very, very solid player in this league and a very good complementary player to what the Colts have. So, like, if they took him in round 3, some people might call that a reach. I would love him in round 3 for the Colts. So I think you picked some good ones there. I do like those players a lot. If I'm trying to think of like some other direction.
Who do you like more linebacker than Hill? You mentioned the film and how there's some other guys that you've liked a little bit more.
Yeah, it's all kind of what you're looking for, I think. Like, it's again, Hill, I think, is just everything on paper is great. And then even the film is really solid as well. I think if I'm talking purely on film, I'm such a huge Josiah Trotter fan. Like, I love Josiah Trotter so much. And here's the thing, right? He's not as athletic as Hill. He's not as he's the same age, actually. I think they're both very young players, but he's not as athletic. He's had some knee injuries in his past, and the coverage is more of like a projection with Trotter. But I don't know if there's a better run defending linebacker in this class. Just the ability to identify run scheme, to slip blocks, to power through blocks. He just reminds me of all the linebackers I watched in like the early to mid 2000s, where it's like, this is just a guy just destroying run schemes by himself. And I think if you're playing nickel defense 80% of the time, having a linebacker who destroys run games by himself like that is very valuable. So Trotter is one of my favorite players in the draft, probably my favorite player to watch on film. I don't know if he's a better fit than Hill for the Colts, but I do really love Trotter so much. Like, I'm going to be abnormally high on him. Rodriguez is interesting to me, though, because you mentioned him. I just want to talk about him for a second.
Yeah, please.
He's got the shorter arms, a little bit shorter frame, but the ball just gravitates to him, man. Like, it's almost like that Shaquille Leonard type thing, right? Where you're like, okay, the turnovers can't keep happening. Like, this is not always going to happen, but somehow they keep popping up. And it's like, well, I guess we got to count on the turnovers at this point, right? Because he keeps making, like, even at the Senior Bowl, Jake Arthur, who you had on earlier in the week, was telling me, like, at the Senior Bowl, he had like 4 forced fumbles in practice where, like, they're not even playing like he's just coming and punching the ball out because it's just what he does. So you have that. You have a guy where that Texas Tech defense, it was a lot of, you have these super, super athletes that are just like rabid dogs at the point of attack, right? You just let them go because you have the perfect cleanup man behind them in Rodriguez, who doesn't miss tackles, who cleans up everything, who gets to his spot. So I really do respect his game. I think he's a very good player. I could understand him not working in the NFL because there are those traits that I don't know if they project super well. But there are these like intangibles with him. And I'm not just saying this because, you say this, we always say this about like small white linebackers and like lighter skinned linebackers,
scrappy,
but yeah, scrappy and all that. But there are just these intangibles with his game. I mean, he's the best linebacker in college football for a reason last year. So if they took him in round 2, I'd be happy for sure. But I think you couldn't go wrong with it. Like, if they took Hill, if they took Trotter, if they took Rodriguez, I think they would vastly improve over what they have at Mike right now. So I wouldn't complain about any of those 3 linebacker selections.
Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking about the Colts and the upcoming NFL draft. So I was thinking about this last night. You know how, I don't know if you've ever been on a diet. I've been on several.
Try.
Where it's like, man, like, I know I don't need it, but like some ice cream sounds really good right now. And then you go out and you get it. Who's like your guilty pleasure pick for the Colts, where it's like, they don't need this, but man, if they took it, I'd be pretty excited about that.
Oh man, I do love so many of these offensive linemen in this class. I'm just such an offensive line guy, but
they need one. Brayton Smith left.
Yeah, Braden Smith left. I do like Jalen Travis a lot. I think he put some good film on display late last season. So but if they took like Blake Miller from Clemson, I think is one of the most underrated players in this draft. He's 22 years old. He started all 4 years at Clemson. He's a 50-plus game starter. He was starting at 18 years old at Clemson when they were actually a good team 4 years ago. They weren't as good last year. But he's just like one of the best athletes in the class, long wingspan. He's just so technically sound. Like, why is he not like a top 15 player? Why is he not a top 20 player? in this draft. I'm so confused on like what about the profile puts him down and other guys in front of him. So if he were there at 47 and it took Blake Miller, I know all Colts fans like, why are they taking a tackle for? I'd be like, well, I mean,
hey.
he could be like a top 15. It reminds me of, this is going back a little bit, but when they traded Buckner away, or when they traded for Buckner, that 13th pick, when I was looking at the guys who were taken right after him, the only guy that I was upset that they missed on was Tristan Wirfs. And this is not revisionist history. You could look back, because I had Tristan Wirfs as like a Hall of Fame tackle potential. And I was like, I think he could be a superstar. So I would have probably taken him over Buckner, but everyone else I'd take Buckner over. I kind of get this way with tackles where I just like, man, Blake Miller, I just think it's going to be like a good, like top 15, top 10 right tackle on that rookie contract. And I just don't know what the issues are. So I'd be cool with him. He's my ice cream, I guess, to a degree, if you were there in round 2. If I'm looking at other positions, I'm trying to think like.
Mine's Garrett Nussmeier. If they took Garrett Nussmeier in the 3rd round, I'd be elated. The film last year's bad. It's so bad. But then, like, you could tell he was hurt. He had the abdominal injury. But I think people forget because Mendoza was so awesome last year. Like 2 years ago, like he was the belle of the ball. Like he was supposed to kind of be the guy, and everyone thought he was really going to come on strong last year. He gets hurt. That's just, I like the way that he throws it. I know that, we talk about arm talent. Like, is it Josh Allen? It's not. But I do think that there's enough there. I like how aggressive he is, which that gets him into some trouble, during his time at LSU. But I always think it's easier to pull a guy back than to, like Daniel Jones, than to get him to do a little bit more. In terms of the aggressiveness. So I like the way that he plays the position. And I think he's got enough talent to be a good player.
Yeah, Nussmeier's interesting. He's clearly like one of the few draftable quarterbacks in a class that you shouldn't draft any of these quarterbacks. Like it's a rough quarterback class, but Nussmeier, I think 2024, there was some ups and downs, and he was, if you only looked at the highlights in 2024, you're like, oh my God, this is a top 5 pick, because the highlights, it's like layering throws over the middle, like getting it over linebacker, getting into tight windows, anticipating at such a high level. But you just wanted to see that a little bit more in 2024, especially because he had these spurts where he liked to throw off his back foot way too often. That's why, like, part of my comp for him, I think it was Gardner Minshew, because I was like, he just has this tendency where he throws off his back foot, and I'm just infuriated. Like, set your feet, man. So I really wanted to see him like take that next step in 2025 and establish himself, but it became a season from hell for LSU, and it was very difficult for him to establish. So I think I would be scared if he landed in like a Shanahan style offense or McVay style offense this offseason, because with his aggressiveness over the middle, I think he can be like not like a Purdy type, because Purdy's just so chaotic with how he gets out of the pocket and creates things, but like that type of impact in that offense, right? Where it's like he just elevates it more than like other system guys do. Mm-hmm. So I see the vision with Nussmeier. I think Nussmeier is probably like, he's like QB3 for me. And I think he's like the bottom of the QBs I actually see potential for in the NFL in this draft. But I do like Nussmeier for what he is. And I think there's like, if you're going to bet on any quarterback in this draft, like after round 2, Nussmeier is absolutely the guy.
Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked on Colts, talking Colts draft. Last thing for you, Zach, and I will let you go. It's not going to happen, but let's say it did. Is there anybody on the board that you think Chris Ballard would consider trading up for?
Ooh, man, that's a good question here, because he's done it before, right? He moved up for.
He's willing to do it. He needs a bargain for it, but
yeah. I think they would move back this year for sure, because they just need more picks. In his history, they've averaged over 9 picks per draft class, like 9.1, I think, per draft class. They're sitting at 7 currently. He's only had 1 draft class under 9. So I don't know if he's going to do that this year. But if there was anybody, it would have to be an edge rusher that they had like a 1st round grade on, that like the TJ Parker from Clemson, for instance, or someone like that, right? Where like, if you go off the 2024 film, he was a top 15 pick after 2024. Very good player. And say he fell because you get like the Malachi Lawrence buzz, right? Lawrence is getting pushed up into round 1 because of the traits, and Keldrick Falk because he's 20 years old and super long arms, right? Like those guys are getting pushed up. And if TJ Parker falls through the cracks and he's there at like 40, 41, I could see Ballard in a way going up and getting him, because edge is just so valuable in his mind. But outside of that, I don't know. Like you might see a trade up in like round 4 or 5, obviously. But
Yeah.
like we're talking round 2 trade up, like I think it would take someone like a TJ Parker falling, or man, if like Jordan Tyson fell to like, because of the injury history or whatever
Yeah.
to the early 40s, and they're like, hey, this guy can just make our offense that dynamic. We can maybe see something like that, but I don't think it would be a huge trade up. It would be like Taylor, where it's like a 3-pick trade up and they're giving up like a 5th to go up there.
Okay. Sounds good. Zach, thanks for your time, man. I know we can find the Colts draft guide at Gumdrop Road, right?
Gumroad. Yep, on Gumroad. If you guys go on my Twitter at Zack Hicks too, you can see it in the pinned tweet on there. Yeah, it's been great response so far. Shout out to Jake and Destin and Noah, Jay Robbins as well. We were the guys who worked on it. They helped me put that thing together, and it's been a fun response so far. Very fun thing. So appreciate you shouted out all week and getting those guys on here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, dude. Have a good one, and we will talk to you later. That is Zack Hicks. You can listen to his stuff over at Locked On Colts, and you can get more of me here in a couple of minutes. We're going to talk a little bit more college basketball, the transfer portal. It is in full swing. The Pacers play tonight. So my thoughts on Indiana basketball and their activity in the portal when we come back in 3 minutes. Back Nine Golf is Carmel and Fisher's premier indoor golf experience. Step into a private simulator bay powered by Full Swing technology, trusted by the pros, and play iconic courses or dial in your swing with real data. Look, the Masters is going on right now. I know you got the itch to go play golf. Go to Back Nine Golf in Carmel and Fishers today. Right now, you can go log on to indiesportsticket.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab to get 1 hour of simulated golf, normally $50, discounted down to $25. Again, you can get that deal at indiesportsticket.com.
The best takes? Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Big thanks to Zach Hicks for coming on for 25 minutes. Talking a little bit of Colts draft, talking Kenny Moore, all those good things. Live from his bathroom floor, as Chris said.
Did it not look like he was just looking up from the floor?
As soon as you said, I was like, that's so good. Oh, man, this is why you should watch on the stream if you can, because you can see these backdrops. Some of them are funny. So, yeah, so he came on. Great stuff on Kenny Moore and the Colts, and the upcoming NFL draft. The Pacers, we are a month away from the lottery, which is cool. Hopefully they land that top 4 pick. What's up? Oh, the Masters update. Yeah, I completely forgot. We got to do our Masters update. Thank you, Chris. That's why you're here, man. You keep me in line so we can hear these amazing, amazing jams. Right now, sitting atop of the Masters in Augusta, you got Rory McIlroy, your defending champion. He is 6 under overall. He is 1 under on the day through 2 holes. Tyrell Hatton has made a bit of a push today. He's 7 under on the day after shooting 2 over yesterday. He is now 5 under, tied for second. He is through 17 holes, tied with Justin Rose and Sam Burns, who are both currently on the course. Tied for 5th, you've got Wyndham Clark and Patrick Reed, who are both 4 under. You got a group of guys here tied for 7th at 3 under. Brooks Koepka, Ben Griffin, Shane Lowry, Jason Day. And then tied for 12th at 2 under, you got Xander Schauffele and Christopher Ryden. I believe I'm saying that correctly. Currently, the projected cut line is 4 over, which means players like Bryson DeChambeau is currently above the cut line. I know people have kind of been monitoring him, wanting to know if he was going to make it or not. As of right now, he is above the projected cut line, and he's even on the day through 4. Now, the best part of it, let's go to the bottom where we meet the golfers who make us feel better about ourselves. Davis Riley is 18 over so far throughout his time on the course. He is 8 over. He finished 8 over on the day. That is currently the worst score that we've seen today. But Johnny Kiefer, he's 6 over on the day through 12, 10 over overall. He's coming for that worst score of the day. Ethan Fang, he finished at 6 over. He had a rough day on the course as well. So shout out to those golfers who help us all feel better about ourselves. That is your Masters updates. And man, I want to experience that course so badly. I don't want to play the course. I would like to caddy the course, just because, like, talking to Tim, talking to Eddie White yesterday, who's played the course, who's played out there at Augusta. Man, like, it's got to be, you just know it's so cool. And, I know everyone wants to go to the Masters. I think why I want to go to the Masters is because you can't have your phone, and there's just famous people everywhere. The number of celebrities that have been interviewed at the Masters, like they're interviewing Mike McDonald right now, Seahawks coach, Super Bowl champion. They had Saquon Barkley on yesterday. Caitlin Clark was there last year, I believe, if I remember correctly. So, and, again, there's no phone, so you can just walk up to these people. But, hey, Mike, love that cover 3 scheme that you guys run. And then you can go on about your day. So it seems like a really cool place to meet people and just, look, it's one of the best events in sports. They completely own the Saturday or the weekend after the Final Four, and that's, I think, a really hard thing to do. So that is your Masters update. Kenny Moore is on his way out of Indianapolis. The Pacers are trying to solidify their their odds for hopefully a top 4 pick. All that is coming your way in 3 minutes.
it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. It's been just a great week, man. The Masters going on. We've been talking Colts draft. Kenny Moore once out. The Pacers are on the verge of clinching the best odds possible for the number 1 overall pick and a 52% chance to grab a top 4 pick, which, would obviously allow them to hold on to that first round pick. We're going to start with Kenny Moore because that is the news of the day. So, people like to make a big deal out of nothing. I don't think this is a big deal. I think that this whole trade request thing makes sense. 317-228-1430. That is the number if you have thoughts on Kenny Moore requesting a trade out of Indianapolis and the Colts willingly giving it to him. I think that's the part in all this that people keep missing. The Colts are like, you want to leave, dude? Sounds great. That's totally fine because he's 30 years old. And it makes sense for him to want to leave because the Colts are in really no position to make some big run and go win a Super Bowl. And he's at a point in his career where that's probably what he wants to do. So he wants to go play for the Rams or the Eagles or somebody like that where he actually has a chance to win some playoff games. So I'm with him entirely in that regard. And I understand why the Colts would want to move off of him. He's 30 years old. He's going into the final year of his contract. He probably wasn't going to re-sign with the Colts. The Colts probably didn't want to re-sign him. So trade him. That way you get something back and you're not having an asset walk where you get nothing in return. Right? This is as mutual as it gets, especially when you look at the top-end talent at corner for the Indianapolis Colts. Okay? Between Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner and Justin Wally, those are 3 guys that you have to like. And Justin Wally was drafted with the intention of replacing Kenny Moore at some point. Okay, so they don't need Kenny Moore to feel good about their top-end talent. Now, they need Kenny Moore to feel good about their depth because I like the idea of Justin Wally replacing one of those 3 guys more than I like the idea of Mekhi Blackmon replacing one of those guys or Jalen Jones. So now this gives them another need on the roster that they're probably going to have to use a draft pick on that they don't really have. Only 2 day 2 picks and then, 5 day 3 picks. That's not really what you want when it comes to finding players that you can go draft and have help you immediately. So they'll probably use Kenny Moore to pick up another pick, probably a 4th round pick or something like that. Maybe a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th. We'll see. But Chris Ballard's going to turn Kenny Moore into more picks because that's just what he does. And, we'll see if Chris Ballard can turn his drafting record around and go find some guys who can actually help them, win games this year. So, that's what we want. We'll see if, we'll see if Chris Ballard can figure it out or not. I do think that the general manager that we have the most faith in here in this city or in this state really is Kevin Pritchard, the president of basketball operations, Chad Buchanan being the general manager for the Pacers. And the Pacers won last night, crushed the Nets. That was a mistake. Can't be having that. I don't know what this winning business is. We need them to, to pull a page out of the, Purdue football handbook or out of the Indiana basketball handbook, the one that was written, within the last 20 years or so. And we need them to lose because they are 1 loss away from clinching, which is a really weird thing to say. Usually in sports, it's they could clinch a playoff berth. No. The Pacers could clinch a bottom 3 record in the NBA. They just need 1 more loss for that to happen. And I think that happens tonight. They're going to play the 76ers tonight. And then they're going to finish out their season on Sunday when they play the Pistons. They lose one of them, then they immediately have the best odds possible to land the number 1 overall pick. Tonight is their best chance to punch that ticket. The Pistons have the 1 seed locked up. They're going to be resting their players on Sunday night. Tonight, though, you have the 76ers, who are still playing for something. The 76ers are the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. They could finish as high as the 5th seed or as low as the 9th seed. So they're still playing for something, right? They're playing to avoid the play-in or to have home court advantage in the play-in and so on. So the 76ers, while they're not going to be at full strength because Joel Embiid is hurt as always, you're going to get a full effort from the 76ers as they continue to try to improve their standing. So I think tonight is the night where the Pacers lose and they punch that ticket. Staying in the world of basketball here, Indiana basketball fans, let's calm down a little bit. All right, I get it. The world's on fire. Everything's melting because as of right now, when you look at this Indiana basketball roster, there's no new transfer coming in. They've got a couple guys that are leaving. It's not good, but it's also early. Okay, I wouldn't worry about it really at all. I would give Coach DeVries a little bit of time. Okay, they hired a general manager. You know that they're working on this stuff. You know that they want to announce that someone is coming in more than you want to hear about it. All right, and as of right now, like they really don't have a team. Right, it's the incoming freshman, and that's it. And that's a good thing. I would like to remind Indiana basketball fans that you weren't very good this last year. You didn't have any like outstanding players. You know, I like Tucker DeVries. Like he's a nice player. Lamar Wilkerson's a nice player. Like outside of that, it was just kind of like, I wasn't like overwhelmingly impressed with anything on the floor. So like, who cares if Trent Sicily and his 4 points per game average is leaving? Who cares if Nick Dorn is leaving? Indiana was bad. Do you not remember? Like, do you not remember booing them off the court when they played Iowa and got absolutely housed in that game? Let all of them leave. Bring in some guys who are actually going to win. Teams that don't make the tournament, when they tear down their rosters and everybody leaves, good. It's a good thing. I went through this with, Indiana State last week. They're like, they don't have anybody on their roster except for a redshirt freshman. Good. You won 8 games in conference. Or no, you won 4 games in conference. You won like 11 games overall. All right? Like, it's like good for Indiana basketball. Let all those guys leave. Let all those guys leave and, go bring in some guys who you can actually win with. All right? Like, it's not a complicated thing. And then you have Indiana football, where you know what they did? They brought in some guys that they can win with. I was going through their schedule last night because Tom Fornelli said some insane thing where they're going to go 9-3 and miss out on the college football playoff and all these things. And sometimes media people say things just to be interesting. And to be fair, Danny Cannell did ask him for a bold take, so I don't want to be too harsh on Tom Fornelli, who does a good job of covering the sport. But the idea that Indiana is going to go 9-3 and miss the college football playoff is insane because I went through their schedule and Indiana's not losing 3 games. Like it's not going to happen. All right. They're going to, at a minimum, they're going to go like 10-2. And if you go 10-2 and you play in the Big Ten, you're going to make the college football playoff. Here is that clip of Tom Fornelli talking to Danny Cannell about Indiana and his bold take. Tom Fornelli laying it out. It would be unprecedented for Indiana to miss the playoffs, especially when you look at all the guys that they brought in. There has to be a firm belief in Coach Cignetti and in his ability to evaluate talent. You know that they're going to be good. Josh Hoover was a good quarterback last year at TCU, and the whole point in coming to Indiana is to do exactly what Fernando Mendoza did last year. He has a good season on a Cal team that just didn't have the proper support system around him. And then he comes to Indiana and they go 16-0 and they win the college football playoff. Josh Hoover's looking to do the same thing. Didn't have the proper support system around him at TCU. Now he's coming to Indiana looking to do the same thing that Fernando Mendoza did. And this schedule is just so incredibly soft. Like, it's North Texas and then Howard and then Western Kentucky. 3-0. Lock it in. And then they have to play Northwestern, who's not very good. And then they have to play Rutgers, who's, not very good. And, every year since Nebraska has hired Matt Rule is like supposed to be Nebraska's like big coming to party. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So Nebraska's not exactly a threat. Ohio State obviously is. Michigan might be. We'll see how Kyle Whittingham does in his first year there. And then you got Minnesota and USC and then Washington and Purdue. And it's like, okay, like there might be 2 hard games on that schedule. There's one for sure. But there's really nothing more than that, right? Like there's one tough game. And that's it. And when that's all that you really have, I mean, you're not going to go 9-3 and miss the college football playoff. This is not going to happen. So that is the Indiana schedule. I don't know, man. Like, Coach Cignetti's on the list as well. Like, if you're going to have like a bold take, I don't think I would do it against Cignetti because, we talk about Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Danny Hurley. When they're getting points, you take those people. I understand that Coach Cignetti has only been in Indiana for 2 years. In year 1, you wouldn't have taken him if he got points. But I think at this point, like you kind of have to. Like winning the Big Ten last year, beating that Ohio State team, and then proceeding to dog Oregon the way that they did in the college football playoff. I think that he needs to be on that list of when this guy is getting points, you don't bet against him. You always take him because I don't think that there's going to be very many more opportunities where Coach Cignetti is getting points. They're probably going to be favored against Ohio State because they're at home this year. Indiana's going to be favored, barring any injury, obviously, in every game that they play going forward. And I can't wait to see it. Final game of the year is going to be tough when they play Purdue. Who's got, they're going to have an opportunity to win some games too because their schedule's pretty light as well. But, it's, it should be another fun year of college football here in the Hoosier State, at least on Saturdays. I'm not sold on Sundays. We'll see what they end up doing to address the needs at linebacker and corner and safety and wide receiver and backup right tackle. Did I miss anything, Chris? Do I just need to run through every position on the roster?
Might need a whole new team by the time we're done here.
They should adopt the transfer portal in the NFL just so the Colts can clean slate a little bit quicker.
Might be a little easier for them. Yeah, for sure. Might be a little more fair as well. I guess I should say.
Oh man, fair. It'd be that'd be so funny. But yeah, man, I'm ready for football season already. It's just such a glorious time of the year, and the drama of it is unmatched, and the callers when people call in for it is unmatched, and the draft being right around the corner as well. That's like the first taste of it. And then hopefully, it's almost here, man. We only got, is it 5 months? We're 5 months until the start of college football. Man, are we really, man, when is the start of the NFL season?
So I know
it should be like September 10th.
Yeah, something like that. Preseason's like August. April, so May. I'm even looking forward to August. Let's get preseason started. I'll be happy.
Man, let's go. Seriously, like let's watch all the development from Anthony Richardson. Let's watch Anthony Richardson complete 3 passes against the third string defense of the Cleveland Browns, and then we can all get excited and say, "Hey, maybe he's the answer. Maybe we should hold on to Anthony Richardson. Just keep him away from the bands."
Give him a helmet when he's working out too.
Are we ever gonna find an athlete here in Indy who is just so like of all the injury prone athletes ever, is Anthony Richardson like the most prone to injury? I just the dancing injury when he was in college, the band. It's just I legitimately feel bad for him.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, just could be something in the water in Indiana. Period between Halliburton and then Clark and then Daniel Jones. You know,
The Pacers had 3 torn Achilles on their team.
You know what I'm
last year.
saying?
Isaiah Jackson, Tyrese Halliburton, and James Wiseman, which is kind of nuts. Maybe it is the water. Maybe it's the water.
There's something in the water in Indianapolis.
It's possible. It's possible. Chris, thank you for a great week of shows.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm glad that coming up Monday we'll do a complete recap of WrestleMania weekend too.
We can do it. I'm down. If you want to do like we're gonna do Jonathan out again on Monday. We'll try to do that every week. If you've got WrestleMania stuff, we can do it. We can do some Jonathan out on WrestleMania. We'll talk a little more Colts and all those things as well as we continue to get ready for the NFL draft. We'll talk about the Masters. Rory McIlroy opening up a little bit of a lead. He's 8 under. So that's what I'm going to do on Sunday. I'm hopefully going to watch the end of a drama-filled Masters. And, yeah, it's going to be a good time. So everybody have a great weekend. Chris, thank you again. I really appreciate you. We're rocking and rolling here on Indy Sports Ticket, and we'll be back on Monday starting at noon. See ya.